think I was looking at.
Starting now.
Okay, so we were discussing why top America,
Well, hold on. You cut out there. Say that one more time.
why it would be inappropriate for a cop to talk to American citizen.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. So, here's the big question here, okay? Is it okay to stop someone for just having a small... I mean, it's hard to explain because what you're saying kind of makes sense about this whole reasonable investigation and all that stuff. Like, yeah, it's common sense that, you know, Hispanics might be down the street over at Lowe's waiting to pick up a job, but, I mean, like, wouldn't that just be like rounding up people for no reason? I mean, wouldn't it make more sense just to make it illegal to loiter in that area and then stop them for such a thing?
Well, you just said no reason, which is inaccurate. The reason they're illegal.
The reason is what?
They're illegal. They're here illegally. That's
Yes,
the reason.
but you're considering that a crime. Like,
It is
okay.
a crime.
Yes, but you're considering a crime worthy of a basic investigation right
Yes.
off the bat. It isn't, because it's too hard of a crime to investigate on those terms.
Very easy. Do you have a social security number?
Yes, but you have no right to ask me that as a police officer unless you suspect me of actually breaking a crime. And not being able to speak English or sitting outside of Lowe's is not a reasonable enough suspicion for you to ask me that question.
No. The reasonable suspicion is based off of other factors. It doesn't just have to be speaking Spanish.
Okay.
For American citizens who are unwilling to talk to the police in other tongues, but even their status as American citizens doesn't get them deported, or their unwillingness to speak in English when they know another language doesn't get them deported.
No, but gets them enough to be investigated, and that's fucking wrong.
Yes, because they're non-compliant.
No, you don't have to be compliant in front of a police officer. There's no requirement for me to comply with. If I am walking down the street and a police officer comes up to me and asks me for my name, I in no way have to give it to him.
Yes, because the Fifth Amendment says that you don't have to incriminate yourself.
Exactly.
But you are then liable for detainment. And you're the one who brought this up, the difference between detainment and They detain you until they figure out what's going on. Then they arrest you, okay? Mm-hmm. So the people who are being picked up off the street who are illegal immigrants are being detained. Their citizenship is verified. Then they're deported. So they're not arrested.
All right.
Unless they
go ahead.
Thought that they're immigrants.
Say that one more time. You cut out.
Oh, unless they can prove on the spot that they're illegal immigrants, then they can them because more evidence or whatever. But you can't prove anything. They suspect something. They can detain you, especially if you're not participating or they can't communicate with you.
All right. So let's go into the next thing. All right, because this is a hard that whole question. If you're walking on the street and can they detain you at that point? You're right. They can detain you at that point.
Be allowed. Not that it isn't reasonable to allow it.
All right. So here's the next question: can ICE pull you over for no reason?
No.
Okay. What are the reasons that ICE can pull you over for?
Essentially, suspicion of being an.
And what would give them proper suspicion?
Well,
pull over.
Patterns of human movement, like for example, if they've discovered that immigrants run drugs on a back road near Mexico, mm-hmm. Then that would be a reasonable thing to do. Or if they see that a person is driving erratically on the wrong side of the road, for example, mm-hmm. And that might be a suspicion that they're used to driving in a different pattern.
Yeah.
Basically, any sign that it would indicate that it is not what one would consider to be a normal American standard, I suppose, or norm of American society.
So, what are the ways that you can define that?
Usually through observation, sometimes through report.
All right, so I can be pulled over because I am driving, let's say, a big rig, out in the middle of a country road. Is what you're saying, because that would be suspicion that I might have drugs or people sitting in the back.
If you're driving it at midnight without any lights on, then yes.
All right, well, let's say, yeah, because you're driving without lights on, that's illegal.
Yes, but the deporting part would be another possibility in that scenario.
Yes, but let's say I'm just driving down the road in the middle of the night. What
You're saying
could I
that
be pulled over for?
You're saying that there should be no reason to pull over the person unless unless the cop somehow knows without them committing any other crime.
Yeah, I mean, can they pull me over just because I look Hispanic? That's the question.
No.
No. Okay. Can they pull me over because I look Hispanic driving over beside the border?
Yes.
Yes. What's the difference? What's the difference between me driving up in the north or me driving down in the south by the border?
Are the proximity of the border.
I mean, what's the real difference, though, legally? What's the difference? What law could I possibly be committing down over by the border that I couldn't be committing up here?
No. What it would be is what law would you be breaking?
Yes.
And you would be breaking on both areas if you were an illegal immigrant, but it is more reasonable to assume that a person who is a Mexican driving a vehicle that is, I assume, it doesn't really matter the vehicle, but a Mexican person who is driving near an area that would allow that kind of traffic through, it's reasonable to assume that, for example, the further away you get from the border, the less likely that it would occur, because the less likely it would occur that you would accurately pick somebody. The closer you are to the border, the more likely, because you just crossed.
See, that doesn't make sense overall, though. You know what I mean? It should just come down to whether you're breaking the law or not. I mean, why is it that I can be pulled over for something completely different down by the border than I can be pulled over for up here?
Because the proximity.
The proximity to the border. Well, okay, I'm driving near the Canadian border and I look somewhat French. Can I be pulled over for that?
Yes.
No. There's no legal justification for it. It's all bullshit. It's bullshit to get people pulled over for that they assume are illegal because they're Hispanic and driving in the South.
First of all, are you saying that the law should be colorblind?
I'm saying the law should be 100% colorblind.
Okay. How would we convict criminals?
Okay. I know you're going to go back to this. So, I get what you're saying. All right. You're not allowed to put out, something saying that the dude's black or the dude's white, But that's fine. That can totally count in that situation. But where it can't count is when you haven't even committed a crime yet.
The crime is being in America.
Yes, but there is no way to even suspect that you're committing a crime until you are proven to not be an American citizen. There is no reasonable way. There is none. Any reason is based on straight up racial profiling, no matter how you look at it. And if that's the case, then it should be illegal to investigate that whole situation.
Absolutely racial profiling. That's the point. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it is absolutely racial profiling.
Yeah,
it is.
I get you. And that's where we get to the fact that it's wrong. It's not right with our Constitution. Racial profiling has specifically been named out as being illegal by many judges now.
That's inaccurate.
Okay. I mean, shit, the whole Joe Arpaio thing that we were talking about a few minutes ago. That's literally what he was told stop doing, is pulling people over based on racial profiling. That isn't some liberal activist judge sitting there saying that. That is literally the laws of this nation.
How are you supposed to enforce an immigration law involving immigrants from a different country?
The best way is to literally find out about it during the investigation of another crime.
Okay. So what you're saying is that even though you have previously discovered that there's a large pocket of individuals fitting the description of being members from the other country, you can...
Can you do it without racially profiling?
That is what you're doing. That is,
Yeah.
you can't stop racially profiling people if you are going to find the correct people. If you're
No.
looking for a
What?
suspect, you know what skin color they are because that's what we see.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that, but we should not be allowed in this country to assume something based on what we see of a person. Like, you should not be in this country allowed to pull over someone and say you're a gang member because you're black, just like you shouldn't be allowed to pull over someone who's Hispanic and think that they're an illegal immigrant.
Those are two different things. What you're suggesting is that we shouldn't pull a black person over, assume that they are doing something. Okay?
And we shouldn't pull over a Hispanic person assuming that they're doing something illegal also.
No. That we shouldn't pull over a Hispanic person and assume that they shouldn't be in the United States.
Correct.
Those are two different things.
Well, okay, go ahead. Tell me how they're really different.
One is presence and the other one is activity.
Fair enough. I see what you're saying there, but does that make a real difference in everything?
Substance, yeah.
I understand that this stuff has been upheld a few times at this point, but it just doesn't make sense. Why is it okay to racially profile one segment of the population but not the other? Is it just because you're not actively committing a crime, or that are actively committing a crime?
One is supposed to be here, right? Wait, what do you mean one segment of the population? Are you talking about black
versus Hispanic? I mean, obviously, if you're sitting around an inner city and you pull over a black person, there's a good chance that they might be in a gang, all right? And that they have committed gang violence before. So why is that not okay to racially profile based on that, but it's okay to racially profile someone that's Hispanic driving near the border?
Okay. So you're saying that if you pull over somebody in an inner city, it's a good chance they'll be a member of a gang.
Look, I like how you're going with that, but I'm just saying.
No, I'm just trying.
Let's just say the chances are about equal there. All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Just assume that if you were to pull over a black person in an urban area,
yes,
there a greater than 50% chance you would pull over.
Let's just make that assumption. It may not actually be true, but we're going to make that assumption for now.
Were to pull over a Mexican person near the border, you have a greater than 50% chance of finding an illegal immigrant.
That's correct.
So if you were to pull over a person who was a gang member, not illegal to be a gang member.
No, but let's say there's a good chance that they sell drugs, that they could be suspected of a crime.
I added another thing, okay? So just finding them is not enough, right? You agree to that because I listened to the thing that you said, and you said, all right, greater than 50% chance black guy is gang member, greater than 50% chance Mexican dude near the border is illegal. That's our crime.
That's
you
our
don't
what?
need to. Black guy can go. He hasn't committed a crime. You found a gang member, still not a crime. The illegal already committed a crime.
Yes, but okay, fine. Let's take the gang member out of it. Let's say, fuck it. Let's just screw over everybody. Let's say you're driving near the trailer park, okay? And you're knowing that's 50% of the white population here because screw white people too. You have to. You're most likely going to find a meth head sitting over at the trailer park, okay? And you're going to find meth in their car at that time. Let's say there's a 50% chance of that. What would be different between, driving down the streets of the trailer park down in bumfuck Iowa versus driving down over, at the border in Arizona?
Okay. The difference would be you have to catch the meth head with the paraphernalia, right?
Yes.
You have to have possession of something or be in the act of using something, right? For the illegal immigrant, they just have to be in the wrong space. Okay, it's easier to figure that out once you ask them for ID. You don't need anything else. For the meth head, right? They actually have to commit a crime for you to investigate them, because otherwise, unless they are visibly showing signs of being a meth head, like track marks.
So would you say me being Hispanic near the border is a good enough reason for you to be pulling me over as a police officer?
Okay, so Are we saying that we're isolating any other qualifying feature? Like, for example, there has been no previous account of finding illegal immigrants near the border. There has been no evidence that suggests that you should be able to do this successfully. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Then no, it's not enough. If there's no other evidence, there's no other past history of a high ratio of finding illegal immigrants driving in this certain area near the border, then it should be considered to be inappropriate. But if they have evidence to support the idea that there is a greater than 50% chance that if you pick a person fitting the following description and they're also Mexican, those combined a good possibility of finding an illegal immigrant, then that's all you need.
All right. So, hold on. Let me just check this out. Are Hispanics being pulled over for no reason? Let's check it. Finding.
Medical?
What?
You're saying you don't know whether this is happening?
Yeah, I'm curious. This is more just stuff I've heard, but, you know, it would help to actually... Hispanic man with a loaded gun was pulled over in Missouri and... Wow, okay, that was pointless. Okay, for no reason at the... Or near the border, I should say. Near the border. Man, I cannot spell today. Without guidelines or oversight, some officers are using traffic stops to question Hispanics over undocumented immigrants to ICE. Okay, yeah, no, that's see, like that stuff like that would be fine with me, and that's the way. That's another thing I should point out here, since this just brought this to mind. Okay, during a cop's investigation, while you are pulled over, no matter what, if your identity becomes into question, that cop should have the ability to deport you. It makes no sense that it has to go through a whole nother, department for that to work. Okay. And 90% of the time, the department doesn't even have the resources to deport anybody. So, if, you get pulled over, up in the northern states or whatever for, driving without insurance or something, or, whatever reason they can think of, and they discover, hey, you're not an American citizen, that person should be sent and started the deportation process. It shouldn't be call ICE. ICE goes, oh, we'll look into it in a year or two maybe, and then forgotten about, because that's the way it's done now. So again, I don't get why overall people are so against ICE just going away and giving these powers to the police.
Forgotten about?
Say what?
You said forgotten about. Then it is forgotten about?
Yeah, because that happens a lot, man.
So, hold on a second. Now, it sounded like previously you were arguing that it is unfair for ICE to basically have free reign to start booting out illegal immigrants. Okay.
And they do have a lot of free reign when it comes to that. But they literally focus all of their efforts towards the border states and none of their efforts in the more northern states.
But then you said that they mostly lose cases of booting out illegal immigrants when cops could just do it a lot easier.
Cops could do it a lot easier, at least especially up in the northern states.
So these are two conflicting concepts, because if you're saying that random cops, not detective cops,
yes,
given the power of booting out illegal immigrants once they discover they're illegal,
yes,
the rate of booting them out would increase drastically. And if your issue is that it's happening too much with ICE,
no, you got to realize, my issue isn't that it's happening too much. Look, I would love for it to be a perfect world, but I do want to keep the confines of this conversation in what is legal now. And the problem with what's legal now is that we allow racial profiling of one segment of the population and not racial profiling for the other segment of the population. Now, it is free game, in my opinion, the second an illegal citizen has committed another crime. But it should not be free game if they have committed no other crime and there's no reason for them to be investigated in the first place. They should only be investigated whenever there is another crime being committed.
Every segment of the population racially profiled. All of them. Cops racially profile by necessity.
But they are not allowed to legally in most situations.
Legally. They have to find the person that matches the description.
Yes.
So that's racial profiling.
Okay.
Looking for.
You're really mincing terms here, though, when you go that route.
But okay, what is racial profiling?
Racial profiling is investigating someone based on the color of their skin alone, or their, people, culture,
No. Racial profiling is not alone. Racial profiling can be with other factors.
All right. Then let me rephrase. When it's done alone.
Okay, I've never seen anything about it not being done.
Another factor is not literally driving by the border. Another factor is not staying outside of Lowe's, because these are not illegal in other situations. These are only illegal if the two things mingle together. But without the racial profiling, then you can't have B, You
are suggesting that it is only the racial profiling that is occurring, okay? You've already indicated that they do other things,
yes.
Okay? It's not that they're Mexican. It's that they're illegal and Mexican, okay? Mm-hmm. The Mexicans that get caught, who are American citizens, caught up in this whole thing, that's happening because there's so many illegal Mexicans. Okay?
Yes.
The American citizens wouldn't have to worry about it. Japanese citizens don't have to worry about it. Haitian citizens, unless they live in Florida, don't have to worry about it. Because of the proximity to the large quantity of illegal Mexicans that American Mexican citizens have to worry about it. Okay? If there wasn't so many illegal citizens, Mexican American citizens wouldn't have a worry about it. Do you agree or disagree with that concept?
Look, I agree with what you're saying there. The fact that there's more Mexicans means that the Mexicans are going to be the ones that are, or Hispanics are going to be the ones that are illegally, are going to be, racially profiled in this situation.
In the net, because no system is perfect. There's going to be the occasional errors.
Yes,
okay?
There is. And that's where we should take away the chances for errors and have errors go the other way. What's that old saying? I'd rather see, free man, or a free man, or a guilty man go free than I would rather see, free man, or a non-guilty person go to jail,
It's a very nice sentiment, but in reality, none of that actually happens.
Yeah, that's how it should work. That's the ideas that our country was founded on. These are not new concepts.
Innocent people go to jail. Innocent people are set free. So this is reality. No system is perfect. The ideal would be something else. But in reality...
Why can't we push it more towards what the Founding Fathers wanted? This is not in any way what the Founding Fathers predicted this would be at this point. They never predicted our immigration policy to be as stringent and as strict as it is. Right now, the immigration policy we have is unconstitutional,
Remember what was the requirement to become an American citizen?
No, I don't. I cannot tell you that. White? Yes, okay. So there was totally a time when that was a thing.
But our Founding Fathers never considered that the border policy, aka citizenship, would be so stringent. Okay. And you can only ever become an American citizen if you're white.
But you could be an American citizen if you were black.
What?
Yes.
Go on.
Hold on. Let me just go to Google here. First black American citizen. Hiram Revels became the first African American. No, that's senator. I was going to say 1870. Wow, that was quick. Jesus. Did you know that the first African American senator was in 1870?
Yes, I did.
I did not. Jesus Christ. Okay. African American history. God, I don't know how to find this. This is not as easy as I thought it would be. Who was the first African American? The root.
The first Africans were basically
yeah, but slavery was illegal in most of the country, or in the northern states, by the inception of the United States.
Yeah, it was illegal everywhere when it first started.
Okay. Let me just type in African American citizens.
The white slavery actually was legal.
White slavery, I don't think was ever legal in in this country. I think that was prehistory there.
That's how it started. That's how Australia started, man. That's how South Africa started.
Yeah. But I'm talking like here in America.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah, but the 14th Amendment made all the slaves American citizens. But I think I'm pretty sure there was black citizens well before that, though, man.
There were black Americans.
Yeah, but they were still. Oh, you're talking about like citizens with rights to vote and shit like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. No. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, that was white. But not long after that whole situation. That was like 1880.
That white folks were the citizens, or the full status, non-second class citizens. You get me?
Yeah, I get you. But okay, so
Why on the founding fathers didn't want this is absurd. Okay.
well, hold on. Okay, so you're saying I get what you're saying about the whole race difference and all that. Although I could make an argument about that too, because I'm pretty sure there was Latino and fucking Japanese and Chinese citizens in America from the very beginning. But let's
Japanese
go.
name was Yamato. 1800s. He made the case that he had white skin and he should be an American citizen. It made it to the Supreme Court. You can look it up. 1800s. I think his name was Yamato. Started with a Y, definitely.
Yeah, but that's citizen with the right to vote.
Yes, that's what he wanted. Full status. Already.
Yeah, but that'd be like saying women weren't American citizens at the time. I mean, women had all the same rights except for the right to vote. I mean, you could still own land in this country as an African American in 1790. You could still, do all the things. You could be allowed to roam this country freely without any issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah, except for the part where you weren't a full status.
Yeah, so I mean, you couldn't vote, but that was really the only thing, or like be a senator and shit like that. But okay, we're really getting into the technicalities here because there was that whole time period when it was just considered white men of certain age were allowed to vote, allowed to partake in politics. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about moving through this country without being harassed by an enforcement officer.
Okay, you're talking about unreasonable search and seizure.
Yeah, exactly. Like Fourth Amendment shit. I think it's Fourth Amendment.
Once again, I have pointed out that it is reasonable to assume that given other information other than the individual's race, like they can't prove who they are, that they're in front of Lowe's and known to be a place that illegal immigrants look for work. Given other factors,
but what is the requirement for them to prove who they are? Because again, our Constitution specifically says that you cannot be investigated without there being an actual suspicion of a crime. And if the suspicion of the crime, in this case, is not something that can be investigated easily, therefore, or just by looking at the situation, cannot be investigated just because they're at Lowe's, because there's plenty of people who go to Lowe's just to get a job. That are American citizens,
Do you know why people go to Lowe's to get a job?
Because they pick up the hardware there?
Because it's non-taxable.
Yes.
Okay, so that means that they don't have to fill out paperwork for it?
Yeah.
So, it's kept off the books?
Yes.
So
it's not illegal in that situation because you are allowed tax exemptions, and that is one of the situations. Plus, the employer is never required to report the earnings. You are. So
yeah, I know.
So you're saying if you're trying to go the oh god, what the fuck's his name? The dude that was played by Robert De Niro in Untouchables, the alcohol guy. Capote, Al Capone. There we go. Al Capone. If you're going for the Al Capone thing here, that's really stretching. You know what I mean? The tax evasion deal.
No, I'm not. I'm not suggesting that they're committing tax evasion.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the interest in non-taxable income is a suspicious activity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does, no doubt. But I look, this whole situation is it's complicated, and
It's very.
no, it's not simple, because you cannot just pull over someone because of the way that they look or where they're located at. If I can drive there as a white person without getting pulled over by the police, then that should be the same thing for everyone, every different color. Now, why should it be different? If I can sit outside of Lowe's and wait for a job, why is it that a Hispanic person can't?
They can.
Then why is it that the police are harassing them? Why is it that the police are sitting there investigating people right there and then?
Okay, once again, they're trying to find illegal immigrants, right? You get me?
Yes.
Okay. They can stand outside of Lowe's and look for a job. Mexicans are not inhibited from doing this.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Illegal Mexicans are discouraged from doing this. Does it make sense?
Yes, I get you. But again, what's the actual reason? I mean, let's just start with the ideology that you cannot be ever investigated for no other reason other than, or for, God, what's the best way to say this? So, if you go into the, police should not be allowed to investigate you to determine your immigration status for no reason. There should be another investigation going on, and it should be found during that investigation that you are committing a crime. Because any other way of doing that investigation is racial profiling. There's no way around it. Would you agree with that? Is there no way around the racial profiling?
Okay. Racial profiling is necessary and legal. If the description is to find a Mexican who is illegal, okay, if that's the task, then finding a Mexican is what is necessary to find an illegal Mexican. There's no other way around. So yes, it is racial profiling to investigate illegal immigrants who are Mexican.
Okay, so this is where we get into the whole ICE thing then. Why is it that we created a whole department whose job is to assume that every Mexican is here illegally if they are driving near the border or sitting outside of ICE? Why is it that we created a whole department to basically commit this racial profiling without any issues under the guise of some 9/11 bullshit, when we could have police doing this without starting off with the whole idea that we need to sit here and investigate for illegal immigrants? There should be no cause for that investigation to begin with.
You know, I was a little confused as to why you kept bringing up the border. You realize that border enforcement is not a part of ICE's purview?
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about, like, if you're driving near the border and you can be pulled over by ICE at that point.
Okay.
Because ICE does have the right to pull you over for suspicion of you being an illegal immigrant.
Okay. Do you know the brunt of ICE work is to get people who have already been confirmed as illegal immigrants?
Yes, and that part of the work, I think, is wasted on having another department. It should be down to the police. The police should be able to do it on their own. They had been able to do it on their own for 220 years in this country.
No, okay. Once again, their responsibility to do that was taken, and those people who were doing that task were moved to other areas. Okay,
yes.
And that area that they were moved to is ICE. So
yes.
the capability they once had in those areas was.
So I'm saying, let's take all those ICE people and move them straight back into police enforcement. Give the police the power to do this again.
Doing exactly the same thing under a different name. What would be the point?
Well, first off, less bureaucracy, because ICE has to have overhead, has to have people above those people who are literally sitting there doing nothing but supervising, when these can be brought back to the police departments.
You would need to hire new people, and those people would be the people who are at ICE. You would be literally moving all the people.
Yes, but again, we'd be cutting back on the bureaucracy, it's the middle management type who's sitting there making $100K a year doing nothing but paperwork will literally get moved to the same guy doing it for $70K a year in the police station. that does it for all the other police officers.
Think that they're not doing anything right now.
What?
You think that the police who are doing what you're describing, so you said we'll move the dude in the police station. What is he doing right now?
He's filling out paperwork, which is add more paperwork to his system.
So you want to slow the entire criminal justice system by adding...
Let's look at this in a realistic way, okay? Like,
yeah.
in a smaller town, for example, you got like 5 police officers. Not one of those guys can take care of a deportation. But
let me get this. What you're saying is let's move it to an area that is unreflective of the United States?
No, let's move it to a local. Let's just take this from a local angle. Why is it that every time a police officer pulls over someone who happens to be an illegal immigrant, they find out during the course of an investigation that they are an illegal immigrant? Why is it that they have to call up ICE, who, might I add, there's a whole department of people sitting there just to answer the emails and the phone calls and all that stuff and then transfer that information over, when this all could be done locally at a local police level instead of having it taken to a federal level? It doesn't even make sense, especially in today's day and age where we have computer systems that can keep track of people and things like that, where, you know, a citizen, you know, request can be done through a simple search. Why is it that we have to create a whole department for it? It doesn't make sense at that level, you know?
Create a whole department. Not why do we have to create a whole department. There's no need to create it. It's already here.
Well, we created it in 2003. We didn't even create it like 50 years ago or something.
Think about what you're saying, because what you're saying is, why do we need to create it? You are recommending the creation of a new department. Okay?
Yes.
Why do we have to create it? Referring to a department that already exists, when you are recommending the creation of a new department.
No, I'm recommending taking the resources that were there 20 years ago or whatever and putting them back in place.
Which means the departments that used to do it don't exist anymore because ICE specializes in the task. You would then be doing what?
Giving it back to those departments.
And then, since there are no departments that do that right now, you would be...
creating those departments?
Exactly. So what you're is past tense, and then you are recommending future tense. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. I'm saying... Okay, sorry to confuse you. What I am straight up saying, though, is, first off, there was really no reason to create ICE to begin with.
Yes, there was.
Well, yeah, what was the need?
Jurisdiction.
Jurisdiction. What was the problems with our jurisdiction set up before?
They allowed for potentially terrorist attacks.
But they didn't. There would have been nothing that ICE could have done nowadays to stop the terrorist attacks that did happen. Homeland
Security has stopped terrorist attacks using ICE, and they have broken up human trafficking rings. ICE has broken up drug rings. They've broken up many different...
I'm sure the police could have handled this. And to be honest, more efficient in department things. Like, there's no reason why you have 20 different people taking care of a one-person job. And don't say that shit doesn't happen, because you would agree that it happens.
I mean, now you're saying that there's too many people in ICE?
Yes, I can guarantee you that.
Okay, let's find out how many there are.
How many employees of ICE there are? Okay, let's
well, you... So let's see.
Employees are there for ICE. ICE agency has about 20,000 employees, including an estimated 5.8 thousand deportation officers who identify, apprehend, and remove deportable immigrants. Almost said deplorable. Trumpometer, triple ICE enforcement. So Trump wants to triple ICE enforcement also? It might not be a good idea either. Wouldn't it just make more sense to have this all go back to the way it was and have police locally take care of it? I mean, no. You may not hit the numbers that you are now, but actual criminals who commit crimes would be deported. Whereas right now, they get caught, lost in bureaucracy.
No, they don't. They get deported.
Oh, bull. I've totally seen this happen.
Yes, it happens in sanctuary cities and cities that are resisting ICE. They let them go.
Well, I'm not going to lie, but I don't think a town that we grew up in is a sanctuary city.
Jurisdictions that are resisting ICE will let them go before they show up.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to deport them. So let's just, all right, you know what? Let's go at a new angle here.
Okay.
Let's do your idea. Okay.
Right.
We'll bust up ICE, and now the responsibility falls on the local area.
All right.
What ICE did. How well will that work in sanctuary cities?
You got me there. You got me hardcore there.
All right, hold on. All right. What about a democratically elected Democratic sheriff?
Oh, I see what you're doing here. See what you're doing here.
It's heavily Democratic. He hates Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to participate in this ICE program. He thinks people are being abused at the border. Is he going to let these illegal Mexicans go?
Now, what if that same sheriff was required by a judge to do it?
So he's required by a judge to do it. He's been required by a judge to do it. It's illegal for these people to be in the United States.
Yes, it's also illegal to racially profile people, as has the judge ordered.
Racially profile. It's not illegal to racially profile.
Dude, do we need to go back to the Joe Arpaio story?
Okay, the claim was that he was illegally profiling. He continued to legally profile people. That's a federal offense. What he actually did was profile people in a capacity unrelated to him investigating people, because the investigations were legitimate. The people that he deported were all illegal immigrants.
That's correct. But he also broke, let's just say he bent the rules to get those people out.
You just said that it is against the rules to do this. You said it is illegal. It is not illegal.
It is completely illegal.
You're saying it should be. He was
told by a judge that it was illegal.
Yes, because that jurisdiction said it was inappropriate. The federal jurisdiction doesn't say that.
All right, and as Rule, who calls themselves blah, 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 I'm pretty sure it's the exact same story I read here earlier. Here we go. Sheriff Arpaio has been holding what he calls saturation patrols in Phoenix area neighborhoods. They're aimed at rounding up people in the country without proper documents. The deputies have been stopping cars and detaining people while they ran immigration status checks through the federal government's database. So the case was brought by a group of citizens and legal residents who said they have been stopped just because they are Hispanic. The judge ruled 3 years ago that the tactics were illegal and must stop. He ordered a sweeping overhaul of the agency, including making patrol officers wear body cameras and conducting more training to ensure officers weren't making unconstitutional traffic stops. So this judge determined that the racial profiling stops were unconstitutional.
Read that again. What did it say?
A sweeping overhaul of the agency, including making patrol officers... Well, here, I'll start from the beginning. The judge ruled 3 years ago that the tactics were illegal and must stop.
The judge ruled, okay?
Yes.
What court is this judge?
I have no idea. That's a good question. You might say
it's
here.
A local.
Yeah, it's an Arizona judge. But I don't know
this
what
is
court.
not... Can you?
Go ahead. Say that again.
Okay, so if you read down, it says to make sure they were not unconstitutional. They changed all this stuff to make sure it wasn't unconstitutional. Not that it was proven to be unconstitutional, just that to make sure it was not unconstitutional.
Well, let's see. I'm sure people have written plenty of papers about this. Is it unconstitutional to racially profile?
And once again, once you use that term, it's going to be isolated as you said it, which is just because they're black. That is unacceptable, okay? What I'm saying is with other components, looking for illegal immigrants, they happen to be Mexican illegal immigrants. And there are other things that are required, like citizen status. So to investigate with a reasonable suspicion is not illegal.
Well, let's see. Let's go to good old-fashioned Huffington Post. All right.
Oh, yeah.
ICE, what part of unconstitutional do you not understand? It's the name of this article.
Exciting.
This is gonna be very what's the word I'm looking for? Bipartisan? Yeah, it's gonna be bipartisan, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has a new director, Sarah blah blah blah, but she made it apparent on Thursday that the agency is stuck making the same old mistakes. This is a 2015 article, so it is a little bit dated. As she testified before a congressional committee, she had an opportunity to oppose anti-immigration policies that violate the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, undermining civil rights and hurt public safety. But she blew it. When asked by a Congress member whether she would support a law that would force local law enforcement to detain immigrants for extra time just so they could be deported, she exclaimed, "Thank you, amen, yes." Wow, this is a terribly... Man, Huffington Post sucks at writing articles.
What is the subject of her issue
I
again?
don't even know. As I said, Huffington Post sucks. Let me see if I can find someone better. Well, ACLU, that's gonna be right in the middle there. LA, man, Jesus Christ. Google does not like any of the conservative things. Is Newsweek conservative?
I mean, you can determine based off of the language whether they're being upfront.
I don't know. Government being sued over ICE raids, this 2017, that allegedly target women and children. A civil rights group is suing the U.S. government over unconstitutional immigration raids in Atlanta that it claimed mainly targeted women and children. The SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center or whatever, announced the lawsuit filed in the district court for the Northern District of Georgia's Atlanta Division on Monday. Wow, that is so wordy. Stating it would focus on immigration and custom enforcement raids that took place in Georgia in 2016. The center claims ICE officials entered homes without warrants, consent, or probable cause solely to detain and deport people, the majority of whom were women and children. ICE agents preyed upon vulnerable families using fear and lies to improperly enter homes without cause and to detain people who were legally present in the United States. Lisa Graybill, Deputy Law Legal Director at SPLC, said in a statement. Okay, that doesn't matter. This website sucks too. Why is it that every news website has to have like a billion things all around it? Really need to get a better ad blocker. So basically this is saying that they literally went into people's houses without any type of search warrant or anything like that, just to detain people.
It's not saying that they actually did that. They're accusing them of doing that.
Yes, that is what they're being accused of. You're right. I'm trying to think of a good page here that might work.
Weird that she said that we're legally in the United States.
Yeah, that is pretty bad. Again, these are some pretty badly written articles, man. The Tech Dirt. For cops who want to help ICE crack down on illegals. Here, ProPublica.org. Without guidelines or oversight, some officers are using traffic stops to question Hispanics and turn over documented immigrants to ICE. Or undocumented immigrants. It was, wow, these are really setting the mood. Inside the van, there were, it was Easter morning in central Pennsylvania, and Luke C. Mickey, a state trooper, was patrolling I-81 for speeders, swervers, texters, and seatbelt shirkers. Shirkers? What the fuck's that? Shortly before 8 a.m., he clocked a Ford Ecoline van going 81 and 65 mile per hour zone. But yeah, these are like the times when I would say it's okay to investigate this.
Yeah, what does that tell you?
That's okay. I don't know.
You are arguing a point that has not been made. You've been saying for no reason.
Look, can I find proof that ICE has, well, here. ICE, unreasonable.
Also consider this aspect. Let's just say I am an I.C.E agent and I see a Mexican dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I think this dude is illegal. Okay, I go up and I say, "Excuse me, sir. I see your license and registration." Okay, and that person just continues to speak Spanish, right? What happens now?
State your question again.
Okay, let's just say I'm an ICE agent and I see a dude I think is Mexican and I'm going to question him. I go up and I ask him, "Sir, may I see your license and registration?" Or whatever someone would say to a dude on the street. "May I see your driver's? May I see some identification?" And the dude just keeps continuing to speak Spanish. What do I do?
Nothing. You leave him alone. You can't be stopping by just to talk to him. You can't just be walking on the street to have a conversation with him.
So now you're saying once you join ICE, you're a second-class citizen?
No, I am saying that you have no right to investigate at that point.
Yeah, but you have a right as an American citizen to talk to another American citizen.
Yes, you do, but you don't have the right to be answered back to.
Yes, as an officer of the law, you do need to understand that this person understands what you asked him.
Yeah, but if you're just stopping by to say hi, there's no requirement that they have to answer you anything.
No, he asked for licensed registration.
Why? What was his reasoning? Oh, because he was pulled over while the dude was driving?
No. We're just talking about a dude walking up, says, "I see this guy is Mexican," asks for his license registration. And he just speaks Spanish. Doesn't seem to understand.
There's nothing you should be able to do at that point. Because you have no reason to be stopping by. In most states, they don't even have the right to do that. Like, New York's the only place that I can think of that actually has the right to do that.
Yeah. Once again, he's an American citizen, so he can start a conversation with whoever he wants, right?
Yes, he can. But he has no reason to suspect that he's not an American citizen.
At that point, he can suspect that something is going on.
From what?
He has the right to start a conversation.
Yes.
That conversation resulted in a person who is incoherent.
Yes.
So,
but he does not have the right to think that there's a crime being committed because the dude didn't respond to him. That's like saying a cop comes up to me and says, "Hey, how you doing?"
I didn't say anything about a crime yet. What I'm saying is that he has a right to be suspicious based off of the parameters.
Suspicious of what, though?
That this person is uncommunicative.
So? I mean, what crime is that even committing there?
If a person is uncommunicative with a law officer, that might mean that he's unable to read, that he might be in distress. It could mean a number of different things. He could be lost. So now it could be the concern of a law officer. Now he has to figure out finding someone to translate. So he calls in, I think they have a translation hotline now. Mm-hmm. And then he asks this person through the translation hotline for their license. Mm-hmm. Or identification, or if he knows where he is, or if he knows if he lives in the area, all these other questions. And if he finds discrepancies in that information, what then?
But I mean, if there's discrepancies in it, that's no problem. I mean, I can sit there and lie to it. No. Yeah, well, if a cop comes up to me, okay, and he's like, "How are you doing today?" I'm like, "The color is purple." He's like, "What? Why would you say that?" And I'd be like, because I pooped my pants or something like that. The cop has no right to assume that there's anything wrong with me.
Yes, he does.
Why?
The logical assumption that you would be insane.
So? I have the right to be insane and walking down the street. There's nothing in the law saying I don't.
Yes, but you could be a danger to yourself depending on where you are.
How am I being a danger to myself walking down the street?
If you are near traffic and you are incoherent.
Man, that is stretching.
It's not stretching.
That is bull. Most of the time, what you're going to get, if a police officer comes up to people, usually they'll say, "Hi, how's it going?" And, "Oh, it's going great." But there's other times when people just straight up say, "I'm not going to talk to you, man. Why would I talk to you? There's no reason why I have no reason to talk to you right now."
Difference. That's the difference entirely. I'm not talking to you. Okay, it's a completely legal thing to say to the police.
Yes.
I'm talking to you. I refuse to cooperate. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to suspect this person is doing a crime. Yes. All he is offering is that he's not going to participate in talking to you. That's fine. We're not talking about any
Okay,
circumstance.
let's say I come up to talk to someone, I hear Spanish, okay? Let's say I call up that line and hand that phone over, and that woman gets on there on the phone or whatever, and she's like, okay, she starts speaking Spanish to the guy starts speaking Spanish back to her. That's it. So, what then?
There's nothing else. There's nothing there.
Yeah. I mean, you can't continue that whole interaction there one way or another. There's no investigation there. The person's perfectly fine, completely normal, and I still think you're full of shit on the me saying weird shit to cops too.
You're saying that there wouldn't be a reasonable suspicion that this person who's talking to you could be on drugs, could be on something, because otherwise, other than them mentioning these random things,
Yeah.
they seem coherent.
Yes.
You're saying that's not a reason to suspect this person is in danger, or that?
Yeah. If everything, well, I hate to say that because there's a chance someone could be having a stroke right there and then, you know. But there ain't a reason to search my bags for drugs, man.
You have just jumped to this conclusion. I didn't say anything like that. I'm just saying that I detain you to determine if you are in danger.
Yeah.
And that detainment, which what I'm saying is detainment is an arrest. And again, we're talking about beat, right?
We're talking about what?
We're talking about beat cops right now.
Yeah.
I, in particular, they're the meat of what they do. Okay, is not border enforcement. It's picking up people who have already committed a crime and been prosecuted as illegal. So they are confirmed as illegal. They're going to pick them up to deport them. Do you know why that's necessary?
No.
Okay. How long do you think you can hold somebody when you're going to deport them?
I don't know.
The local police know that?
I assume that they would.
You assume that the local police in every jurisdiction across the country would know that?
I don't know, man. Okay, but go ahead.
Know an organization that does know that. I guarantee you I know an organization that every member knows that.
What?
The I.C.E organization, because that's all they do.
Okay, fair enough. So, okay, I get what you're saying. But
so imagine, if you will, that you're deporting somebody, okay, but you failed to follow a regulation that is set forth in your state for that deportation, right? What happens then? That person doesn't get prosecuted. He gets miscarriage of justice, and he gets to go free. Who will reduce those occurrences? Maybe an organization that specializes in handling those cases. Oh, maybe an organization that's kind of specifically devoted for that.
Or we could just bring it back to the way it was 25 years ago.
When you add that, okay, when you add variance, when you add other people doing other tasks, other parties, you have to hire more people to handle the new workload.
Yes.
Okay? You would be creating a new organization to do exactly what is basically this organization's function.
But there's things that ICE does that the police wouldn't be doing. Like
Now
raids and shit like that. Like that, there's no reason why police should be raiding, like why ICE should be raiding a company.
Its functions. So either you're talking about giving the power back to the local administration, or you're talking about restricting them. Which one is it?
I'm talking about, first off, constricting the powers of the local administration. That is definitely first and foremost. And I would say the biggest restriction is literally bringing back to Constitution. Straight up, Fourth Amendment, everything has to be followed. Everything that a police officer can do is all that ICE should be allowed to do.
The Fourth Amendment. What specifically are you referring to?
Illegal searches and seizures.
Okay, what about it?
Well, okay, let's talk about, an ICE raid. Like let's say, the one that happened at Swift, for example.
Okay.
Where ICE walked in under their form of reasonable suspicion that there is a shit ton of employees here who are all, illegal immigrants, and they need to all have their IDs checked, and we're going to deport all of them that we can find. So, like that. Like, what's the constitutional reasoning for that? Well, how is that a legal search and seizure? They are literally walking into a private company where there are private employees working there, and they are asking them to see their documents because they work at this company. You get what I'm saying?
Well, first of all, are you suggesting that private companies would benefit from hiring illegal immigrants?
Sorry, go ahead.
Are you saying that private companies wouldn't benefit from hiring illegal immigrants?
They would.
So you're saying that there is an incentive for companies to hire illegal immigrants?
Less pay, yes.
Okay. So that means that there's a suspicion that companies would hire illegal immigrants.
Yeah, and I have no problem with those companies be taken down for that. But what's the reasoning for having ICE come in and take down the employees for that?
There is a suspicion that private companies would hire illegal immigrants.
Yes.
Do you understand?
But literally going in there and asking all the employees who are Mexican, that's probably going to be who they're asking. They're not going to be asking the white employees whether their papers are good. But going in there and asking all the illegal immigrants in there, or all the people, the Hispanics in there, whether their documents are good or not, and having to show their documents, like literally while they are at work, that isn't constitutional at all.
Okay, once again, what does the Fourth Amendment say?
That you cannot commit illegal searches and seizures.
Unreasonable?
Unreasonable. And those are unreasonable.
Is it reasonable to assume that a private company with a lot of Mexicans who's been known to hire illegal Mexicans would have illegal Mexicans on staff?
Yes, that would be a suspicion. But it would not justify for a check of all of the staff. Like, if ICE walked into my job tomorrow and asked me to see my papers,
let me ask you a
question.
I
would tell them no.
If 70% of the staff was Mexican,
yes.
Okay, and you worked at this facility, yes. Right? And they busted the place, and they discovered that around 60% of them were illegal, and they made sure that everyone brought their papers, white, black, Mexican, whatever. That would be a problem for you?
Yes. If they walked in there and to ask everybody for their papers, that would be a problem with me. I don't care what the person looks like. I would, if they came in and asked me for my papers, I would tell them no, they have no reason to ask for my papers. If they have a problem, they can detain me.
Okay.
That's exactly what I would say. And then I would say, and I'm not giving any of my papers until I talk to a lawyer.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes. Because I believe this is unconstitutional, and I will find any way I can to sue you guys for this.
And you will lose.
I don't know, because there is no reasonable expectation that anyone working there would be breaking the law without there being some bullshit legal kerfuckery, you know?
We've already defined that there would be a reasonable expectation. 75% of the employees
Yeah, but Mexican. How would they know that going in?
And 60 of them turned out to be illegal immigrants. That's what I said.
Yes.
Okay. So they were confirmed, right? You are suing them because they were right.
Yes,
right?
But I'm not suing them because they were wrong or right. I'm suing them because they straight up asked me when they had no reason to ask me. Their reason is not reason enough to ask me that question.
The reason that they would ask you is because they were trying not to be racist.
No. I understand, but they would have no reason to ask anybody else for that question either. Like, it doesn't...
They would have to blanket everyone in the company?
I have a reasonable expectation to be able to work without being bothered by the police. As long as I am not committing a crime.
Incorrect.
What do you mean? How is that incorrect? I have the complete right to work in this country without being bothered by the police. Unless if they suspect me of committing a crime.
Because you've included the term bother to include it be investigated by. You're not sovereign from the police. The police are a representation.
I am a sovereign citizen of the United States of America.
You're not.
I have the right to travel across this country. I am not driving.
Subject to the laws of the land.
Yes.
You are jurisdiction of the police. If the police are performing an investigation, you can choose not to comply. But that you would be excused from it is ridiculous.
No, see, that's fucking stupid. Like, okay, you walk in there, the police get in there, let's say they literally, like, I have no problem with the police walking into the main offices of the plant and picking up a piece of paper that literally has a list of all the illegal immigrants and all the, regular American citizens or visa employees or whatever, and they go home and wait till the next day and then arrest all those illegal immigrants, I have no problem with that. But there is no reason why they should go in there and investigate right there and then, other than to get as many people as they can at the moment.
It sounds like that you don't care what happens to them, you just don't want to be inconvenienced.
I don't. There is no reason why I should be inconvenienced.
Well, then your issue is with the people enforcing the law. Your issue is with the people who are breaking the law.
No, my issue is with the people enforcing the law. I have no reason to be inconvenienced by people. And I have the right to not be inconvenienced by that in the United States.
That is incorrect. Your right to be inconvenienced is limited by their ability to enforce the law. So, if you're enforcing the law, you are minorly inconvenienced because whatever state policy requires that they have to vary their asking of documentation to non-specifically target racially accurate stuff, like the thing that you were recommending, the colorblind thing. If they have to ask everybody in the company, because that's whatever law they are following. Some states do have a non-racial profiling thingy, so you have to ask every so often. Then that's just what has to happen.
Because what? Well, what's the difference between literally not interrupting people? Like I get if I have to be sent home because my company's being shut down because of this. That means my company made a mistake. My company's being shut down. But I should be able to go home that day without being interrupted by the police. Now, if the police literally went to everybody who were on those documents and then investigated those people, that would be reasonable enough suspicion to investigate those people on that document. But if they walk in and they're just like, we're shutting you down because we heard a lot of rumors going around that you're hiring illegal immigrants, and you have whole entire pay that literally says for the illegals here, but they do not have a separation of list of the employees' names, there's no reason why they should walk in there and be like, okay, roll call, who has their papers? Like, that doesn't work. I mean, why is it suspicious that I would be an illegal immigrant for working at my job?
First of all, to be clear, a white dude who speaks fluent English and no other language would most likely not be a candidate for being an illegal. Okay?
Yes, but to keep it from looking like racial profiling, they're still going to ask me for that shit.
The only reason they would do that is because they have some state provision saying that typically target somebody because of their race.
Yeah, so they gotta ask everybody, and that's fucked up too. So.
Okay, just moments ago said that it is inappropriate to target people because of their race.
Exactly.
Do you remember?
Yes, I remember.
No, you can't. Exactly, because then you just said that it is inappropriate to ask everyone to avoid targeting them because of their race.
Yes. You shouldn't be asking that question for any reason. There's no reason in this country that I should ever be asked for my papers unless if I am straight up named as being in suspicion of being an illegal immigrant. If there is something else saying I broke the law, then that's when you can ask. Like if they pull me over and I don't have a driver's license, that's the time that they can ask to make sure I'm an illegal immigrant and not an illegal one.
The only other option that you're leaving is that there is no investigation. So if they can't ask specifically,
they should not be allowed to investigate illegal immigration without evidence that you have committed the crime.
We already are talking about them having evidence.
That shouldn't count as evidence.
Sorry, we're only talking about them having suspicion.
Yes.
Searching for evidence. They need suspicion to ask for evidence. That's what we established. So they have suspicion, and you're saying that they shouldn't ask you anything because they shouldn't be suspecting you of anything.
Exactly. There's no reason why anybody in this country should be suspected of being an illegal immigrant right off the bat.
Because you're white. Is that correct?
No. Even if I was Hispanic, that should be the case. There should be no reason to suspect me of being an illegal immigrant. None.
Okay. You're saying
Unless
that
if you straight up have a document saying there is a chance that I may not be an illegal immigrant, or if I can't produce some kind of document in another situation where I'm legally required to produce said document.
that require documentation. Illegal immigrants are not documented.
Yes.
So you're saying without illegal immigrants documenting themselves and presenting that document to the local police department.
No. Okay, if I can't show my documents upon a request during an investigation of another crime, or if it's specific, if another document specifically says, like, okay, if they walked during a plant seizure, if they walked into the plant and they had a list of illegal immigrants, they have every right to investigate those people. That would be okay. But if they walked in there and they had no list of all the illegal immigrants, they should have no right to ask those people.
Immigrants.
What?
How are they going to get a list of illegal immigrants?
Well, let's just say there's a pay list sitting there.
No. Explain where they're going to get a list of illegal immigrants.
That's exactly where I just said. Let's say there's straight up. Let's say they go in. Well, let's say they pull over someone the night before. Okay.
The whole idea of them working for the company is that there is no paper trail. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand that. Believe me, I 100% do.
List of illegal immigrants.
Let's say the night before they pull over someone. Okay.
Who
is
a list?
What?
You just said they need a list. Where are they going to get a list?
No, I'm saying in that specific situation, I would think that they would need a list of illegal immigrants before they can start doing an investigation of that.
Of how they're going to get a list of illegal immigrants.
There probably wouldn't be. They probably would not be able to arrest anybody else for being an illegal immigrant at that plant.
You recommended something that is essentially impossible. Your idea was that under an impossible situation, it would be appropriate to do this.
Yes.
That is ridiculous.
Look, that's not the only situation. Like, okay, you get pulled over, you can't produce a driver's license, then it's okay to try to start investigating to see if I'm an illegal immigrant.
A moment, like, at the beginning of the conversation, you said that was inappropriate.
No, if I'm being pulled over for another reason. So I cannot be pulled over for suspicion of being an illegal immigrant. Let's say I get pulled over for speeding. That's perfectly fine then. Then the question can come up whether I'm an illegal immigrant or not, because I didn't show my driver's license. And then yes, that's 100% reasonable, because we've taken 2 steps now to start seeing that I am an illegal immigrant, so it is time that we do this investigation. At that point, it's completely reasonable to do that. But before that, it's not. I mean, like, if I get pulled over for going 65 into 55 and then I show the cop my driver's license, cop's like, well, you have a driver's license, but you look like you're Mexican, so I'm going to have to need your birth certificate now to prove that you're a legal American citizen or your green card. That
sounds like scenarios in which it would be a bad thing.
What?
It sounds like you are making up scenarios in which it would be unacceptable.
It would be unacceptable. But again, the ICE raids that they do, okay? Let's say the night before they pull over someone and they're like, oh, hey, you don't have your driver's license. Oh, look, you're not a legal citizen because you can't prove any paperwork at this point. Okay, I bet the company what company do you work for? Such and such company. All right, well, we're going to go arrest the head of that company or the hiring department for that company or whoever hired this person. And, we're going to take them to jail. But that does not mean that they have the right to open up an investigation of the whole entire plant at that point to see who's all the people that work there, unless that they, while investigating that plant, come across the paper trail that proves who's illegal and who isn't. There should be no reason why anybody else in that building should be asked to show their legal immigration status. None.
Okay. You're saying unless they have accurate, exact information of the names of the immigrants based off of an informant?
No, not even that. I'm just saying, if during their investigation of the company it pulls up a piece of paper that says these are the people that were paying under the table, then that would be the time that you can investigate other people at the plant for being a legal immigrant. But at that point, there should be no suspicion. There should not be enough. There's not enough suspicion there to
other people at the plant.
Yeah, to start investigating other people at the plant.
What do you mean, other people?
Like other people that might be illegal immigrants.
Other than who?
Well, let's say there's, like you said, 70% of everyone in town knows that 70% of the plant is an illegal immigrant. All right?
Okay.
So you pull over someone, now you have the proof that they have hired an illegal immigrant. So you go in and you raid the company. No one else at that company should be investigated unless there is some kind of suspicion that they are a illegal immigrant.
Do you identify the illegal immigrants that work at the company?
No. What I am saying is everyone gets free, pretty much.
But how do you do it?
You don't.
You already said that you know that there are illegal immigrants working at the company, right?
Well, because it's a rumor around town, but you know at least one employee has been illegal because you had him pulled over the night before and proved that he was illegal.
And I understand that. We're saying that there was an informant that said, I am one of many that work at this company.
Yes.
I'm an immigrant and there are others here. Give me citizenship and I will roll over on them and testify against them. So we know that there are other illegals there. If there are thousands, he won't know the names of them all. Okay?
Yes.
So
they should only be investigating the people he knows the names of.
You know which ones are illegal.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know? You're going to go in this company. There's going to be a lot of workers. Some of them are legal.
You don't. A lot of these people are going to get free.
How do you know which ones are not illegal?
Are not illegal? Well, you don't really. I mean, unless if you are doing it, you have to be doing an investigation on them. Because you're investigating the company does not give you a right to investigate the employees.
Out which ones are illegal and which ones aren't. You have an informant saying there are illegal workers at this company, many illegal workers at this company. How will you, as an I.C.E investigator, figure out which ones are illegal and which ones are not?
You don't. I think that's what you're really missing here. If he comes up and says, "Hey, Bob and Joe are both illegal," and I really don't know anybody else, but I've heard that there's a lot of illegal immigrants there. Well, then you can only sit there and investigate Bob and Joe, and that's it.
No, what I said is that this person is an illegal immigrant.
Yes.
And he says to this company that he was brought here to work in the United States.
Yes.
With people.
Yes. And he can only name Bob and Joe, then only Bob and Joe are going to get investigated. No one else.
Ridiculous.
How is that ridiculous?
Because you can easily verify whether or not there are other legals there.
Yeah, but to do that, you're violating the rights of the legal people who are there.
It is not a right not to prove who you are. That's not a right. It doesn't exist.
Bullshit. It says right here, the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. No warrants shall be issued, but upon probable cause. Supported.
Unreasonable.
Probable.
Unreasonable. Do you know what these terms mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. It's reasonable to assume that there's going to be more employees that are illegal immigrants than there are. But what about the 30% that are legal people there? That are citizens there? What about those 30%? We're just going to shit all over their constitutional rights so that we can catch the 70% that aren't? Fuck that.
No. There is testimony saying that based off of me being an illegal, I know that there are other illegals here. Okay, so that's testimony.
Yes.
That's evidence.
That is evidence.
Okay, so this person is verified as an illegal person. He says that he was brought in by the company.
And everyone that he names can be investigated. But if he can't give a name, there's no... That'd be like, the head member of a gang getting... Or, like a under guy for the gang getting arrested or whatever. And he's like, I'll give you 10 names. Oh, well, we'll go ahead and arrest the whole gang. Just say that you suspect all these people of being in the gang, and then we'll all investigate all those people, too. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
In this particular example, what you're railing against is the police asking them for identification based off the testimony of one gang member. You're saying that these can't ask them if they are who they are.
Yes.
That's bullshit. You can totally...
Oh, man. Because, again, they're not actually being suspected of committing a crime because I'm not named for being committed of a crime. No one said I committed a crime. They just said that people I work with committed a crime. That ain't me. How the hell are you going to know it's me?
Either. In this false example with gang members, they're not being charged with a crime. You're saying that the police can't ask them for identification. That's what you're saying. You're saying that this dude said, I'm in a gang with these other people, and you're saying that the police can't go ask those other people for identification.
For no reason, they cannot. Even if they say that, like, hey, you know, there's a bunch of these people in the gang, they're like, okay, well, we're going to walk into the house, and then everybody in the house, well, I guess they can do that, so, but still.
And individual's testimony is the reason. Do you understand that?
Yeah, okay. Here's a better example, okay? This explains what I'm saying better. Okay, so you're like, okay, everyone on this block is in this gang, all right? But I only know like 10 of their names, man. And so they can only go in and investigate those 10 people. They can't go door to door on that block asking people for their fucking licenses and shit.
Because an entire block of people and the children and
there's more people that work at a company than there are in a block. Like, geez, the company I work for, we have 600 people. Hell, the block I live on has about 20. So it would be less of an effort. There would actually be less people involved. But they can't do that.
You live in a rural area. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. But let's say, okay, it's a block that has 100 people in it. Again, most of these bigger companies that get raided have hundreds of employees.
Yes. I'm looking at the Swift case in particular. Do you know how many illegal immigrants they found?
Like 45, I think. I don't know. This was like 8 years ago. Let me see. The 2006 one was the one I was thinking of. I think. Maybe it was 2009. I don't know. Yeah, okay. So, altogether, it looks like... Well, there's a total of 1,300 working there. So, about 400 illegal workers. The plants are located in Iowa, Minnesota. I don't know. It says about 400. I think 400. Yeah, that seems right. Or no, the raids resulted in 1,297 arrests. So, yeah. About 1,300 employees, give or take. So, yeah, I mean, a block would be a lot smaller segment of the population. You seen that, too?
Say again?
It looks like 1,300 people were arrested.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't get what your point is there about being a bigger sample size, because it's not. It's smaller.
No, my point is that the company was involved in illegal hiring practices.
Yes, and the company should be in trouble for that, always. Like, I fully agree with that. But there's no reason why everyone else should be required to show their papers on the way out, you know?
Okay, once again, how are you going to find out if you know the company is doing illegal hiring practices?
Yes.
Okay. You don't have names because illegal immigrants don't leave names when they enter the country.
Yes.
How do you find illegal immigrants?
Through other means. Again, when you get pulled over by the police, if they discover you're an illegal immigrant and they ask you where you work and you say this...
You work for the company.
Yes.
You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. The crime is done. They have evidence. They can ask anyone they want.
Why, though? I mean, what legal context is there for that? It doesn't make sense.
Work that committed the crime. You might be involved.
So? I mean, that's just not enough to get you investigated, man.
Do you understand law at all? Like,
okay.
Crime, they're asking you your identity.
Yes.
And that's basic thing the police can do. It's like not even considered a problem for most people. Black people have to worry about being beaten to death, and you're worried about police asking you a question about your identity. You realize this is a weird thing to talk about.
But this is something that's pretty standard on this side of things, man. I mean, this isn't like a new concept or anything. This has been around for a very long time. I expect my Fourth Amendment rights to be held true every time that I have an encounter with the police. Every single time.
It's very little to do with the Fourth Amendment, because in every case that we've been talking about, there's been suspicion. There's been reasonable suspicion.
I think that reasonable suspicion's too low.
You think that. That's your opinion. You've been passing your opinion on this.
Yeah, but again, many judges have agreed with my opinion on this.
Yeah, but these judges don't hold that opinion universally.
No,
which
they
is why
don't.
it's struck down. You might find a legal judge once that's inappropriate, but it doesn't get carried to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Because someone else overturns it. Or, in many cases, there has to be specific conditions in which they will actually launch a lawsuit. And then the specific wording of the lawsuit indicates the impropriety. So, for example, we had an example that you mentioned about, I think was, they said that the people kicked down the doors and went in, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough. I remember us talking about that earlier, yeah.
Why wasn't that prosecuted? If that happened,
I don't know.
So that means that if there's been no prosecution, if that's what happened, if they keep out warrants, straight up the criminal act, there would be a paper trail, there would be a prosecution, or at least be a prosecution, some legal document to support that.
Let me see. ICE arrested a man in Oregon without a warrant. I'm finding things here.
Yes. Now the question is, do illegal immigrants require warrants?
Oh my God, we're going to go down a rabbit hole with this one. I would say, I don't know how that works exactly. But the question is, how can you be sure if they need a warrant to be arrested if you're not sure whether they're an illegal immigrant or not?
That's the point. They don't require warrants because one of the standards of a warrant is to be served to the correct person. To be served to the person means you need to verify who that person is. If you verify that and discover they're illegal, you didn't need a warrant. They're already done.
Yes, I agree with you on that. But the question is, how do you verify that they are illegal? I mean,
don't have a social security.
Okay, yeah, nope, that's perfect time. But when can you get asked for your social security number?
When they ask for who you are.
Okay, what are times when they can ask for who you are? I mean, what is like the lowest thing you would think is acceptable for finding out who someone is?
Literally anytime they want.
That's bullshit. There's no way. There is no way. You, police officer, cannot come up to me and ask me for any information right now.
Why is that?
Because it's my Fourth Amendment right. Again, he cannot come up to me and be like, hey, what's your name? I don't have to give that information.
You don't have to give it. That's the point. You're blending things. You don't have to tell them, and they can't ask you. They're not the same thing, okay? You can say, fuck you, can still ask you.
Yeah, no, they can ask me. You're right. They can ask me, but I do not have to answer.
Do you realize that you just said that I'm right, that they can ask you a question?
Yes, you're right. They can ask me any question I want, but it can't lead to bullshit after that. Or it can't lead to nothing after that.
Yes, that's correct. If you tell them...
If I tell them, fuck you, and walk away, that's the end of our encounter. There is no reason for them to continue the encounter.
Absolutely correct. The problem arises when an illegal immigrant doesn't communicate fuck you in English to an English-speaking officer.
Okay, well, if a Spanish person straight up says, mi soprano el estasa, and then just fucks off and walks away, he has every right to do that too.
Incorrect. Because if that officer doesn't speak English, he doesn't know if that person has complied or understands what he's saying.
You don't have to comply to that, though. You have every right not to comply to that question.
Incorrect, because he has to make sure that this person isn't committing a crime or is incompetent or is in danger because this person is unable to communicate.
Oh man, But if he's clearly speaking Spanish, then we know he's competent. Okay.
You don't know what he's saying. I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah, but most people know when someone is speaking Spanish. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Legally speaking, can you say that you know exactly what that person was saying?
No,
when they
I can't, and I'm sure most cops can't either.
Have you ever heard of Portuguese?
Portuguese? No, I couldn't tell the difference in Portuguese at all.
Hold on a second now. Sir, you just indicated that you guaranteed that most people understand the difference between Spanish and Portuguese.
You're right. I wouldn't be able to. You're exactly right. I would not be able to tell shit.
In a court of law, it would say, are you sure that it was Spanish and not Portuguese? And you would say, I don't know. Well, hold on a second. You just said that it was certainly Spanish and not Portuguese. Yeah, so you can't guarantee that it was Spanish, then you don't say it. Now, if the officer speaks Spanish as well, he might ask them in Spanish. Okay, that happens too. And if the person says fuck off, I'm sure there's nothing they can do about it. But if their response is some sort of weird gibberish, like I poop my pants, like the thing that you said,
yeah,
that requires more questions because that's a new suspicion. This person could be in danger. This person could have a stroke. This is an unreasonable response to what is considered to be a normal gesture of common greeting. Like,
yeah, but where's the requirement saying I have to have a normal response to that?
Okay, the requirement isn't that you have to have a normal response. There's a suspicion when you don't.
Okay. So, that makes no sense. So there's no precedent for suspicion, but there's going to be suspicion.
Did you say president or precedent?
Precedent.
Okay.
What did I say? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Bear with me.
In the Fourth Amendment.
What?
There is a precedent for suspicion. It's in the Fourth Amendment.
The Fourth Amendment just says unreasonable searches and seizures and shall not be violated. No warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
Reading after you read the point that I'm trying to make. Okay, yeah. Probable cause, unreasonable search. If it is reasonable in a court of law to suggest something was going on, then that's all that's required.
Now, I know the law's on your side here sometimes, and other times it's not. So we're not the only people in the world that debate this.
Say that again, please.
The law's on your side sometimes, and sometimes it's not on this very concept.
Well, just give me an example when it's not on my side.
Well, again, the Joe Arpaio thing. You know, pulling over people who are Hispanic and then him detaining them just because he thinks that they're illegal immigrants.
I'm glad you said that.
Yes.
Okay, so you want to guesstimate how many illegal immigrants are in Mexico or Arizona in 2002?
I don't know. 500,000? Maybe 1 million? What? How many?
Half of the population of illegal border crossers into Mexico occur along the Arizona border. 47%. 47% of all American border crossing, or illegal American border crossing, happens in Arizona. Do you know why?
No.
Geographic locations allow it to be a little bit easier.
Okay, cool.
So that means that there's a huge traffic, like 50% of the country's illegal immigrant traffic goes through Arizona.
Yeah.
All right. So from 2001 to 2010, an average of 1,374 illegal aliens a day were apprehended in Arizona, in the Arizona border section. A day. 1,374.
Yeah.
A day. Do you know what that means?
What does that mean?
For 10 years, 1,374 a day. Do you know how many that is?
I don't know. 10,000, 20,000? Oh, a day? Shit. A million. Let's say a million.
I want to get let's just say it was 1,000 a day, because I'm sure there's probably been some low numbers. I know they average them, so it's like, whoa, way high.
Well, what's 365,000 by the times 10? So 3 million, 3.5 million. Let's just go with that number. 3.5 million altogether.
Yeah, it would be roughly about 3,650,000. So 3,650,000 people, greater than the population of, I think, New York, was apprehended at the border of Arizona.
Yeah.
And so you're going to tell me, okay, this dude in Iowa, this person, is going to say, hey, I think it's wrong that George Arpaio, or what's his name, Sheriff Arpaio, is apprehending so many people. By the way, Iowa has like a 96% white population.
Yes.
Yeah. So regardless of any other populations that in this state,
yeah.
Let's just say, for example, predominantly white state.
Yeah.
Probably has a Mexican population, probably has an Asian population, probably has a black population.
Yeah, but not a very high one.
They're going to say to themselves, this is inappropriate. This Arpaio guy's a bad dude. And now let's take a look at the demographics of the actual state of Arizona. And holy crap, it's a huge proportion of Mexican immigrants trying to illegally cross the border almost every day. How many people do you think they don't catch?
Oh, they probably catch 10% of them. So let's say 90% of them get free.
No, that's a little too much.
Oh, is it? Okay. Wow. That's actually higher than I thought.
Probably about 80%, maybe 60%, but greater than 50%. Like, they are competent at their jobs.
Yeah, okay. Like, I didn't think they were that competent, to be honest. That probably makes me a bad person. But anyways.
Okay, so illegal alien population makes up at least 46% of the state's foreign-born population.
Mm-hmm.
At least 40% of the total foreign-born population. 6% of the state's total population. So that's kind of like 6% of the state of Arizona shouldn't be there.
It's not there legally. I'm not saying they shouldn't be there, but I will say that they're not there legally.
Difference.
Well, the difference is the one's against the law, the other one's morally acceptable. But we're not talking morally here, we're talking legally. So.
Yeah, I know. So I'm saying that they shouldn't be there legally.
They shouldn't be there legally. You're right.
Okay.
Morally, on the other hand, they totally should be. But I'll keep that shit to myself.
Of the state shouldn't be there.
Yes.
Legally.
Yes.
So in a state where there's 6% of the people that shouldn't be there, do you think that there's concentrations of illegal immigrants?
I would bet, yeah.
Okay. It turns out George Arpaio, or Sheriff Arpaio, I don't know if his name was George, but anyway, the sheriff was in the area of one of these concentrations. So his district had a significant number of illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
A significant number of the state's illegal immigrants. So in actuality, because of his demographics of his local area, it was more realistic to do what he did.
It was... What's the word you used again? It was what?
I said realistic.
Realistic. I get what you're saying. And I get that's what people like to think, is that, oh my god, this is the realism of it. This is down in the slums. He's got to do this to keep his state safe and stuff like that. And yeah, that might be true. But at the same time...
Hold on a second. It might be true. You realize that the most of the crime in the state are performed by illegal immigrants?
Most of the crime? Bull. Hold on. Arizona. Let's just talk about Arizona here. Arizona illegal immigrant. Well, illegal alien. We'll just type that because I don't feel like spelling crime right. Crime Prevention Research released a working paper in which he purports to find that illegal immigrants in Arizona from 1985 through 2017 have a far higher prison admissions rate than U.S. citizens. Everyone kind of freaked out over that. Lote wrote his paper based on a database he obtained from the Arizona Department of Corrections that lists all admitted prisoners in the state of Arizona from 1985 to 2017. Whether the prisoners are illegal or legal residents, this is where Lott made his small error. The database does not allow him or anybody else to identify illegal immigrants. What? Focused on is citizen. That variable is broken down into. Wow, this is a completely hate thing on it. Illegal immigrant crime rates, maybe. I honestly don't know though. It seems like it would be bullshit, but it looks like there is some reports here that confirm it.
Yeah. So, to be accurate, say most of the crimes. That's inaccurate. What I should say is a disproportionate number of the crimes.
Yeah, okay, I'll accept that. Yeah.
So, for example, we have 45% were arrested.
But you gotta realize, Joe Arpaio committed a crime.
And what would that be?
He, well, the exact crime that he committed was, what do they call it? When you fail to do what a court tells you to do.
Contempt of court.
Contempt of court. His actual crime was contempt of court.
Yeah.
And he was due to go to prison for being in contempt of court.
No, that is a federal crime. I think contempt of court is a federal crime.
Yes. So he was going to go to prison for it.
Contempt of court is a crime that is facilitated in court.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying? It is not a violation of electoral law so much as a violation of an individual's...
Electoral law? What do you mean by electoral law?
Okay, so we agree that people should drive 60 on the highway, right? We voted on that.
Well, we didn't vote on it, but we sent representatives who do vote on it, yes. Well, not speed limits, that's a different situation, but I get what you're saying.
Okay. If I am unruly in a court, okay, if I... scream hysterically at the murderer of my daughter or whatever.
Yeah, that's contempt of court.
Contempt of court. And
yes.
Who says that?
The judge.
Judge. So if everyone in the court thought I was completely reasonable...
But that wasn't the situation. He disobeyed a court order.
Same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
Go on.
He was literally told by a court what he had to do his job properly, and he refused to do that. And because he refused to do that, he broke the court order.
A judge. He was told by a judge.
A judge, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it never went further, so that makes it law. It's still case law, no matter how you look at it.
No, what you're saying is that I'm not disputing that he technically violated the law. What I'm saying...
He did violate the law.
If you are willing to suspend the idea that it is appropriate to deport people who are here illegally simply because you think that it is immorally unjust, right? You're willing to suspend that.
Okay.
I'm saying that if you were to suspend the concept that it is appropriate to criminally convict someone because of the opinion of one person with all the power.
Yes.
Same thing. That this person, if their only crime is offending one person, then it is unjust.
But they didn't offend one person, they offended multiple persons, and that's what the court had found.
The multiple persons couldn't convict them of a crime.
Yes, they could not have.
But this one person could convict them of contempt of court, telling them something that is not a crime.
It's one of those gray areas because
yeah, I know, that's why he was pardoned.
No, he was pardoned because a Republican president pardoned him.
He was
pardoned because of party lines, not because of some moral thing. And don't try telling me that's not the case.
Okay, go ahead. Look up and see if anyone disagreed with whether or not Arpaio should have been jailed.
What do you mean? Oh, I'm sure a lot of people have thought he should have been in jail.
Legally. Like, what he did was legally inappropriate.
Yes.
Yeah. Then show me. Why wasn't he convicted? If it was legally inappropriate,
He was convicted.
He wasn't convicted of the crimes he was accused. He wasn't convicted of discriminating people. He wasn't.
No, but he was sued for it.
What?
He was sued for it. He wasn't convicted. He was sued for it. That's why there was a court order.
A civil suit is not a federal violation.
But violating the court order is.
Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying they couldn't get him on a crime that they said that he did.
They said that he attempt to get him on a crime.
You're saying they didn't attempt it?
No. They tried doing the lawsuit thing where they got him to do, the same deal that happened with that one chick.
You're saying they didn't attempt to prosecute him?
Yes. I don't think they ever attempted to prosecute him.
If they didn't attempt to prosecute him, why do you think that...
What?
If they didn't attempt to prosecute him, why do you think that is?
Hold on, let me look into it. Probably because they didn't think they stood a good chance.
What's that?
That means that, they thought that they would lose if they tried to get him in trouble.
If they don't convict you, then you didn't commit a crime. At least they don't have evidence of you committing the crime, which is hard to believe because apparently he stopped a lot of people.
Yeah, no, he did. But he also violated the rights of a lot of people, too.
If he did that, then he would be convicted of a crime.
But it's not the same type of thing. That's more of a procedural crime. I don't think you get convicted of that in any situation.
To that.
I mean, they might be able to get him on violating people's civil rights, but they never tried it. Because that's a much more difficult case.
Okay. You're saying they didn't try it. You're saying that they just complained about it and they're just like, he's
I think they just took it as a lawsuit, I think. I don't know, man. I don't know the details of this 2011
No, you do
case.
know. It's right in front of you.
There is 24 years sheriff, which it's just basically saying everything that he's done.
Yeah. Was he convicted? Was the suit successful?
Well, the judge made a ruling, and yes, it was. Whatever it was successful. It didn't get him thrown in jail, but he was given a court order to stop what he was doing.
Okay. Do you understand what you just said?
Yes.
You're saying he didn't do anything. They didn't win the suit. That didn't send him to jail. Okay? Him violating the law outside the court didn't send him to jail.
Him violating the court order that came of the case that was against him is what got him sent to jail.
The judge telling him not to do something sent him to jail.
Because he did it.
Obviously.
Because he didn't listen to the judge.
Obviously. How do you go to jail because they don't listen to judges?
It's every day.
Do you think it's very frequent?
Yeah, I would say at least one person in America every day goes to jail for that.
At least one person in America. Yes. How many people go to jail because they violate the law?
Oh, a lot.
A lot more, you think?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
So, a person is accused of infringing on civil rights, violating federal law, stopping people, all these other accusations. Mm-hmm. Why would he be convicted of only one, and that is violating what a judge said?
Well, I'm assuming the other judge didn't want to throw him into jail or do anything like that over a civil rights issue, so he just gave the court order, or she.
It's the same judge.
What?
It's the same judge.
Yeah. So they just gave him a court order that said, hey, stop doing this. And when he continued to do it, that pissed off the judge. So the judge sent the person to jail for violating the court order.
For violating what he told him not to do.
Yes.
So it wasn't that he did something that was prosecutable, right? He didn't do something that was prosecutable. He did something that the judge told him not to do in his capacity as sheriff.
So what are you saying here? You think the judge made the wrong call here?
No, I think the judge made the right call if his intention was to jail him, because they couldn't do it any other way.
Yeah.
So If he just gets him on a technicality, then that's good enough,
That's
right?
not a technicality. That's a violation of a court order.
If I tell you not to do something that you are able to do, okay, that you are normally able to
But
do.
he wasn't able to do it because of case law,
No, he wasn't
because of
able.
his own case.
But he wasn't able to do it because the judge said he couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
If the judge didn't say he couldn't, would he be able to do it?
That's the question. They
No,
took
it's
him
not.
into they took
Obvious,
him to court, and the judge said, "No, you are not allowed to do this."
not allowed to do it, right?
Yes, but the
So,
judge made that ruling based on law that's already there.
based off of his interpretation of the law.
Correct.
Okay,
That's what judges do.
right. That's my point.
Let me see if I can find what the original. During trial, Pereira was found guilty of ignoring a No, that's another thing. In November, lost his bid. The bond between Trump after Trump entered. Man, it is hard to find what the original deal was. And
I know because
it wasn't that big of a deal, I guess. Tent City.
oh, it was a big deal. They just didn't care about the accuracy.
Perot embraced the nickname America's Toughest Sheriff, and many Republican candidates. In 2013, the Police Department had sued Perot's office, alleging long-running discrimination policies, in particular the practice of racial profiling. The case was settled in 2015. So this is not the lawsuit then that he got that ruling in. This is a different suit, or that had to have been a different thing. But the lawsuit was settled. That was a different deal. So that did not come out of the lawsuit. I have no idea what the original thing was. I'm having a rough time finding this. Lecturer was wound up facing jail time before Trump. Wait, before Trump. Wow, this ain't gonna be biased at all. Pepper was found guilty. And might I add, he also, with being pardoned, he does have to admit guilt. Because that's part of being pardoned. So no matter what. Oh wait, I could probably just read the wiki here. Accused of various types, including the abuse of power, misuse of funds, failure over his career. Poirot was subject to several civil suits, rights lawsuits. In one case, he was the defendant in a decade-long suit in which the federal court issued it was a lawsuit then. But a federal court issued the injunction from barring him from conducting further immigration roundups. Federal court subsequently found that after the order was issued, Poirot continued to detain. So he was told by a federal judge not to do that.
He was issued an injunction. Do you know what an injunction is?
Now,
To stop complying with the law.
is an equitable remedy to a form of a court order that compels a party to do or refrain from specific acts. A party fails to comply with an injunction faces criminal or civil penalties, including the possibility of monetary. So yeah, it's basically a rule that says you can't do this now.
Yeah. So he was doing something that was legal. The court said, "Hey, stop for right now. We're going to review it."
Yeah, that could be the case. Yeah, fair enough. I'll give you that. But
think about this. All the things he was accused of, okay? All the violations of human rights, all the crimes, all these other things. They don't get him on any of that. They get him on, hey, stop doing the enforcement of the law, and he continues to do that, and then they get him.
Yes, correct.
What is his job?
His job is to enforce the law.
So basically, either he stops doing his job or he goes to jail.
No, he's enforcing parts of the law he's not allowed to enforce. First off, he has no jurisdiction over that.
Once again,
that.
This person who's in, let's just say this person in Maine, okay? Maine has a very high white person population, very low Well, I was assuming that they have blacks and stuff like that. But anyways, let's just say this person's in Maine, and they look down at Arizona, and they're like, "Oh man, look at that! Look at that Arpaio. He's just being mean to the Mexicans, just for no reason at all."
Yeah, but
oh,
you
man.
still gotta follow the law, man. You can't just do it because you think it's right. You have requirements.
A federal government, a federal judge, right? You know what that means?
Yes, yes. A federal judge, meaning that he is a federal, a judge appointed federally.
Which means, is he in this state?
I don't think so.
So that means
he's probably not from the state.
If I'm in the thick of it, if there are 1,300 immigrants being caught daily, right?
Yes.
If I throw a rock and it hits an illegal immigrant, okay, it's so thick with illegal immigrants, and there's crime, and there's rapes, and there's murders, okay,
yes.
and the suspects are consistently, more than they should be, illegal immigrants, and some dude outside the state says, "Stop trying to stop it."
You're not gonna listen to him. I get it, but here, let's take this to movie logic, okay? Everything John McClane did in Die Hard was illegal as fuck.
Oh, absolutely.
He would have been arrested in real life afterwards.
No, he would.
Bull! He would have been taken to jail so fucking quick for being a vigilante. It'd be insane.
In what state?
Well, he was in California, so we'll just say California.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely. He would have been arrested.
yeah. He's, because he didn't even have jurisdiction in that state.
Here's a concept for you. There are people reporting on lemonade stands. People reporting lemonade stands.
Oh, no, I heard about this, yeah. Like, to the police because they don't have a permit.
Yep.
Yep, nope, that's a legit thing.
You can't sell water in what was it, San Francisco?
Yeah, no, you can't.
A girl selling water in San Francisco.
Yeah, nope, that's 100% true. It was terrible. I don't agree with it, but it's also the law. I mean,
wait.
I still say, hold on, before you say it. I don't agree with our immigration policies. I don't like them. But again, it's also the law. So no matter how you look at it, it is the law of the land. And that's what sucks.
Okay, you were arguing that it is illegal, that it is inappropriate based off of the Constitution.
That it is inappropriate to inquire about your immigration status without having a reasonable, and I mean stronger than what you're stating, suspicion of a crime being committed. I mean, there's been reasonable or searches and seizures are bull, and they should not be allowed.
Okay, as long as you're saying they should not be, then that's fair, okay? Because that's your opinion. But when you say that they are not,
I would say that there's some case law out there that says that it's not okay. And that's why we keep on going back to this Joe Arpaio thing, because that's straight up case law saying it's not okay.
No, the case law didn't make it that far. Do you understand? They got George Arpaio. They didn't get him on any of that case law. He was inhibited from performing his functions by an injunction from a court. Yes. Not that it was advising what he was doing. It was saying, stop doing that. Do you know why? Because ICE wasn't being enforced during Obama's administration.
Yes, correct.
So that means we're not going to get him out of here. Because you're at the border, you can do it yourself. And that's what they were doing. They were doing it themselves. And what happened? The government said, stop doing our job.
Yeah,
we're not going to do our job. We're not interested in doing our job. Stop doing the job we don't want to do.
Yeah, that is more how the case went. You're right. That is exactly how it went. It wasn't so much whether he was doing this illegally or legally. They're saying he doesn't have the power to do it because of his position, but ICE has the power to do it, but ICE isn't going to do it because Obama said they're not going to do it.
Right, and they can't come out and say, we're not enforcing it.
But there is other case law here that works in this situation.
What's that?
There are other case laws that work in this situation. Plenty of times that racial profiling has been brought up in cases and cases struck down because of racial profiling.
You understand that the reason why George Arpaio was told to stop doing that was simply because it was the job of another department.
Yes, I understand that.
Do you remember what department we're discussing?
ICE. I know it's ICE's job is not the police
So
department's
then,
job. And I realize that under my own arguments here,
term.
Joe Arpaio would have the ability, would have a lot more power than he does.
Well, yeah, the only reason George Arpaio was sent in that direction towards the injunction, whatever, as weakly illegal as it was, and I do mean weak, was simply because he was doing another department's job. Well, maybe not simply, but basically that he was doing another department's job. And even under those auspices, it still wasn't enough because under the courts, it was very obvious that he didn't have anywhere else to send. So,
do you want to have our society to the point where a police officer can come up to you at any point and ask you to see your driver's license?
that already happens.
Right now, it happens. A police officer can walk up to me if I'm walking down the street and be like, hey, can I see your license?
Absolutely. The police officer can walk up to you and ask you a question.
Yes, okay. Okay, and you be required to show them your license, otherwise you're going to be investigated.
I disagree with that. They have to have a suspicion first that I did a crime.
Well, their suspicion is that you didn't show them your license. Now what?
Yes. If I didn't show them my license, that's not enough.
Okay. We can agree on that at least, right?
Yes, but if I also be a Mexican, okay, and...
Okay, let's go that route. Let's say you're a Mexican. You speak good English, though, okay? Let's say you speak good English, okay?
Right.
You're a Mexican, speak good English, can communicate just fine with the officer. Officer asks to see your license, you say no. What do you think should happen next?
Nothing.
Nothing. You think the officer should be done at that point. I'm in agreement with you on that, too. All right, now let's say the officer comes up and you're like, no, senor. Then what?
Does the officer understand Spanish?
He said, no, senor. So.
I don't know what that means. It could mean something different.
Okay. All right, so you think that's the point?
It could be if I want it to be. If I'd never had a Spanish lesson, if I don't know what Spanish means, he could be meaning something else. He might not understand what I'm saying. I don't know what no senor means in context to what he knows.
Now, let's go take this further. Okay, let's say I speak a bunch of Spanish and he's like, oh, I need to find a translator to find out the meaning of this. So he calls that number or whatever, and the translator has a nice conversation with the guy where the guy's just like, yeah, I don't really want to talk to this officer right now, so I'm not going to talk to him. Then what?
Nothing.
Nothing. Done. Okay? I can get behind that too. But if he gets on the phone with the interpreter and they can't understand each other still at this point, I would say that would be reasonable suspicion to think something is wrong.
If they can't,
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. If they can't understand the interpreter at that point, then something weird is definitely going on here.
That's a weird one. That just means that you probably have the wrong interpreter.
That could be the case. And that could be 100% the case. You're right. That would be most likely. So maybe we should go a bit further than that. But yes, at that point, that's fine. Something weird's going on here. But just because the guy can't speak English, do you think that's enough?
Again, it has to be combined with other factors. Is he Mexican?
Yeah, he's a Mexican. Let's say he's straight up a Mexican. He has a green card, but he doesn't have it on him, you know? And he just says all that on the phone. I have my green card, but I don't have it on me. I don't have my driver's license on me. I don't feel like I should have to show any of this stuff. There's no requirement for me to show this stuff.
For example, a Mexican in Minnesota, right, is more likely to be illegal than a Mexican in Arizona. Do you agree?
In Minnesota? Or you mean the other way around?
No, I mean Minnesota. A Mexican in Minnesota is more likely to be legal.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that, yes.
Okay, and then a Mexican in Arizona.
Okay, let's say we're having this conversation in Arizona, and I do agree with that. Let's say we're having this conversation in Arizona. So you go up to someone, they can't speak English, you get a hold of an interpreter.
Reasonable to assume they might be illegal.
What?
It's reasonable to assume they might be illegal. The bare minimum for justification as an American citizen is being able to speak English, okay? That might not be so bad if it's happening in Minnesota. Because Minnesota there are pockets of people that really don't interact with each other a lot. There's apparently, supposedly, some Dutch people up there, or German or whatever.
No. See, I where I lived at in Illinois, we had a lot of Dutch people over there too, and none of them could speak a word of English.
Yes. So in that regard, it's reasonable to assume that a Mexican person in Minnesota still might be legal, a naturalized citizen that just sticks with his own wherever in Minnesota. I don't know. But because they're near the border, because there's such a huge population issue, immigrants coming by the thousands every day, nearly 50% through Arizona, it's reasonable to assume, based off of the surroundings, based off of the proximity to the border, that this might be an illegal person simply because they're, one, Mexican, two, can't speak English, and eventually, I hope, don't have any ID. The next thing will be to ask, do you have any ID? If they cannot respond because they only speak Spanish, we find an interpreter. The interpreter asks, do you have ID? May I see, with the ID, like a driver's license, I can find your picture and verify. But yeah, that starts. The next question is, I need to know who you are. I am suspicious. Please help me stop being suspicious. It's not supposed to.
I don't think that's reasonable enough. I think it should go further.
Then how do they enforce the law?
What?
How do they enforce the law?
I told you. I don't. I think that immigration status should only be confirmed through the eyes of another crime.
Once again, to confirm the identity is to confirm an immigration status.
Yes.
So,
but the only reason why you should ever have to confirm someone's ID is in the investigation of a crime, and that crime cannot be, and this moves for again to my opinion because the law doesn't agree with me on this.
You don't know a crime is committed until you find the crime.
Yes, I understand that, but we have certain crimes like texting and driving, for example. In some states, I guess this state used to be the same way, but it ain't that way now. But like texting and driving in some states, it's only illegal if you get pulled over for something else and they discover you were texting. Like if you're speeding, not paying attention or something, then they will give you a texting and driving ticket. But it's not illegal if you're driving past a police officer holding your phone. I believe that immigration status should be handled the same way. Your immigration status should only come up through an investigation of another crime.
If you are driving past this police officer and you're looking at your phone, and you got your thumb on the phone, they can't pull you over?
In this state, they can. It wasn't that way until this year. Before that, like the 2 years before that or whatever, you could not be charged for just texting and driving. You had to be pulled over for another reason. You could not be pulled over for texting and driving.
Well, I guess that really doesn't serve your point then, because the laws did change. So
the what? Well, the law has changed now, but yeah. It did used to be that way though, and I believe that immigration status should be dealt with the same way. You cannot be investigated for immigration status unless you committed another crime.
Okay, that means that they would have to increase the rights of immigrants beyond that of citizens.
Well, there's other little crimes out there that, like, you can't get your car searched for marijuana unless if you have been pulled over. You can't be asked. You cannot be charged with having no insurance until you are pulled over for another reason and you have insurance.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you search your car while you're still moving?
What?
You said they can't search your car until they pull you over. How would they search your car if you're still moving?
No, but they can't search your car unless they pull you over first. But they cannot pull you over to search your car for drugs. They can't pull you over because they think you have drugs in your car. They have to pull you over for something else and then be like, oh, hey, there's drugs in your car.
It's incorrect.
They cannot. Okay, so if I called the police and I was like, hey, such and such as cops as a shit ton of pot in their car or something. The cop, and I was like, here's their, license plate. The cops cannot go and pull over that guy just because I called them. They have to have some kind of proof beforehand other than that.
Incorrect.
Bull. I've never heard of that happening.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen. But if it were to happen, if someone were to inform, give accurate information to their life, like check it out if they want it.
I, I don't know, but
Unreasonable search and seizure means.
yeah, you have to have reasonable suspicion,
Okay,
probable
so
cause. Well, it's actually probable cause, and
yeah,
with houses, you literally have to see it right in front of you.
right. So in this particular case, in many states, okay,
Mm.
cop getting informed about someone who is like attainable, essentially in their jurisdiction, and all you do is you pull them over
Mm.
and ask a question, which is, "May I search your vehicle?"
Mm. You can't do that.
Yes, you can.
A cop cannot pull me over just to ask me to search my vehicle. He has to pull
No,
me over for a reason.
we already established that someone informed on
Oh,
you.
okay. Yeah, yeah. They might be able to do that. That might have been a
What did
terrible
you just
example.
say?
I know. I'm starting to think about this out loud in my head, though,
My
and it
God.
seems like a terrible example.
When you're driving and if you throw drugs out your window or something
That would
looks,
be reasonable cause to get pulled over.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
I
it
asked you
does.
the question, how would they be able to search your car if you were still moving?
Mm.
And other than them pulling you over for another thing, and that would be if they saw you throw something that was suspiciously like a blunt or something like that out the
Yeah,
window.
then they might have reasonable cause. But even then, those things get challenged in court all the time because it could have just been. I mean, littering would be what you'd normally pull them over for in that situation. You wouldn't pull them over because you thought you saw them throw drugs out. You pull them over because you thought you throw them something out. And then
Right.
you're like, I pulled you over for littering, but I also think this was drugs, so give me a few minutes while I go back and search.
To be thorough, yes, that's exactly what they would do.
Exactly, because the throwing the drugs out of the car is not enough to hold up in court. What's
right.
enough to hold up in court is littering.
Yeah, could include in their testimony that they suspected that it also could be drugs.
Yes.
They could include that. It doesn't
Yes.
matter. So
Because the littering was the reason for the pullover.
the littering was the crime that started the search, right? But
Yes.
there was also suspicion that it could be drugs. So it could have been just a littering ticket, but to search the vehicle, they suspect something more. So they either
here's
the thing.
Here's a better example. A cop pulling over a car that has smoke coming out of it, okay? They pulled over a car because there's smoke coming out of it. It wasn't a shit ton, but it was enough to where the cop's like, I bet that's pot, you know?
No, that doesn't work.
And it doesn't. It doesn't work at all because, like, it could be a million other things.
Not a million other things, just specifically 3 things.
Yeah,
that
sure.
are so it's either marijuana smoke, vapor, or cigarette smoke.
Yeah, exactly. Especially today with the vapors. It is never going to hold up. Like, even if they pull him over, like, man, I thought you were smoking a blunt out of that car. I saw so much smoke. And then they go in and they find a blunt. That whole search is never going to hold up.
Disagree.
You disagree, bull, because it could have been vape. I mean, there's literally multiple things it could have been.
Hold on.
Why was this pulled over for this?
I'm in the middle of trying to explain it to you. So there's 3 smoke could be. It could be vape, it could be cigarettes, it could be marijuana, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 of those have a distinctive odor. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Cigarette smoke does not smell like marijuana smoke.
That's correct.
Okay. So if it doesn't smell like either of those things, it's reasonable to assume it's vape. Also, you can ask the person, are you vaping?
True, but the original pullover was illegal unless they come up with another reason. Like, maybe you filled up your car with smoke so much that you couldn't properly see out of your vehicle. Maybe you were driving slightly recklessly. Their reason for pullover is never going to be because we saw a cloud of smoke coming out, because it's not going to hold up. They'd have to come up with another reason to pull you over. They might follow you for a few blocks to see if they can come up with some bullshit reason to pull you over. But they're not going to pull you over for that because it would get thrown out of court.
Okay. So, in a way, I suppose you may be correct, but in another way, you're wrong. Because if their suspicion in seeing a car full of smoke is that I think there's something going on here, they'll just wait to commit a crime.
Yes.
A lot of people who see the lights or whatever for some reason They'll start to slow. They may swerve. They may start acting strange.
Yeah,
Their hands
start driving suspiciously. That's going to be hard to hold up too, but it might work.
10-2. In many states, there's this 10-2 law.
Yeah, there is. They can find little things to pull you over for, and those are what they generally try to do in that situation.
Right. But there would be no suspicion. There would be no suspicion to begin this scrutiny if there was no smoke.
Yes, that's correct.
So, in many regards, again, I would just like to be clear. I do not like police, okay? I'm not a big fan of the powers of local police. I think that they're growing more and more militant every day.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that American citizens should have special privileges to not be shot when they start running from the police. There should, or when they try to attack the police with a knife. I think that there are batons and other things, ranged implements, or even beanbag guns that would be better suited to make sure that the person survives the encounter for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I think many police officers get off. I mean,
easy.
No. Not easy. It's the law. It's appropriate for them to shoot people as opposed to deal with them in a physical confrontation.
Yeah.
I think that that's inappropriate. I think that if there's superior numbers and the person is armed with a knife, I think 2 police officers should be trained adequately to the point and armored to the point that they could take down somebody easily. I know I can. I've done it before. So I know that there's risk. I know there's always going to be risk. And I'm saying that I don't think that there should be, if a guy's got a knife, I think that it's reasonable to assume that you can take him down with non-lethal force from a range, from whatever. But I'm saying I don't think shooting a person is always the answer, only in the most dire circumstance of self.
We might want to save these points for another night, though, before we get into that conversation.
ICE serves a valid function, okay? Local police departments are... Imagine some of the local police that you've worked with, they are not people that you want to trust with successful deportation, bad encounters where they give them a rough ride or violate their few civil rights that they do have because they don't have full status. You can look it up. They're not covered under all the amendments.
Yeah.
The few things that they do have, you want specialists that violate it. So when they are deported, it is legal and it is humane. Because if you get in these areas where it's become personal, right, where the immigration becomes personal, like, for example, Arizona, they might not be as gentle as they should be.
Yeah,
they might not
exactly. Like Joe O'Brien throwing
really
people
think about it.
They might not in their underwear.
They might not make it to the border.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm sure that shit happened a lot, especially between the 50s and the 80s.
Right. And who did it happen with? Did it happen with a federal agency?
No. These were local police officers. You are right.
They disappear. So it is good to have, in this capacity, a specialist agency that comes in who has no emotional connection to this thing, whose only job is to take criminal A. Usually, again, the meat of their work is person who did commit crime to border. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. To be honest, I kind of agree with you on that. Here's my biggest issue with ICE. ICE should not be allowed to start an investigation. Maybe that's the best answer. Maybe if we keep ICE, that'd be fine. But ICE doesn't start the investigation. The local police do, and then hand it off to ICE when deportation becomes a thing.
Okay.
I would find more acceptable than the way we are right now, where ICE can straight up drive around in vehicles, pull over people, things like that. That is not how ICE should operate, if that's the case.
Again, ICE operating in that capacity, in this particular argument, hasn't been supported by fact. You have not presented a single case in which ICE is just wandering around. And they're just like, that guy.
Let me see if I can actually find something here. Hold on.
Okay.
I lost it. There we go.
Even in the Swift had intelligence that suggested this company was violating hiring laws. So they weren't just wandering around and they're like, hey, look, it's a Swift company. hey boys, you in for a good time? And they raid 6 companies in different states in one day. Like that's not how it happened. They planned it. They organized it. You realize that when they do these things, that be supported in court, where there's like, liberal lawyers and border support lawyers, and they'll tear to pieces any violation of like human rights. You know this, right?
What do you mean?
Okay, when they go to the courts, right? They have to defend their actions. They have to reveal their actions. They have to defend their actions. So they roll up on a company and they take their employees and say that you've been using legal hiring practices. Do you think the company just rolls over and's like, "You got us, man. Good job"?
Yeah.
You think that's what happens? No, they hire lawyers and they fight the shit out of it. They accuse the U.S. government of violating their rights. They accuse the U.S. government of violating their employees' rights. They say, nah, bullshit. Look at all these other employees that you fucked with. Like they were American citizens. It's like, yeah, what about the illegal ones? Let's not focus on the illegal ones right now. You bothered these other guys. They're American citizens. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Like, if you have a problem with government agency fucking with people who are American citizens, take it up with the illegal people who are here.
All right. Well, hold up a second. So this is an article from the Seattle Globalist. So I'm assuming this took place in Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
A few months ago, I was walking to my car in the pre-dawn cold. Why do they always gotta set the mood for this shit? Yeah, I know, it's so fucking stupid. Just tell us the fucking story. Heading to the Women in the World breakfast. Oh, you're gonna love this, Ryder. Held by the... Go ahead. Say that one more time.
That's an indication that she's a really good person.
Yep. Breakfast held by the Seattle International Foundation. Suddenly, I saw 2 immigration and customs enforcement officers headed towards me. Their presence filled me with fear. As they approached, all I was thinking was how to avoid hurting anyone with my answers. What?
Okay, first of all,
yeah, go ahead.
Like the beginning of a porn?
Yeah, no, I was getting that vibe too. But it felt like a porn where it was like a rape fantasy or something, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My parents and I migrated to the U.S. 6 years ago from somewhere in Mexico. Followed by, it has a name, but I'm not pronouncing that shit. Followed by my sister and her husband a year later, because my father was already a permanent resident, living in Tacoma for 5 years. Wow, you really went into this, didn't you? We were granted green cards as well. The only problem is that my brother-in-law is not a permanent resident. So my heart was racing as the officers questioned me with the knowledge that my answers could harm my family. I believe that immigration officers stopped me based on my appearance. They started asking me about my legal situation and my family. I didn't know how to act or if I should tell the truth or lie. But I remember one of the officers warned me that if I lied, they would find out and it would just make things worse. They took me back to my house to question me further. They searched my entire apartment and found my nephew and my niece and 5-year-old respectively sleeping. They questioned my brother-in-law and my sister about their legal situation. The questions continued for more than an hour. In the end, it turned out they were looking for someone else, a neighbor, across the hallway. Officials mistook my brother-in-law for him based on their similar appearance. After a bunch of phone calls, they realized this was not the person they were looking for and finally left. So, there you go. There's an incident. So, they do investigations.
Yeah, and they're apparently incompetent.
Well, you know, something tells me this is pretty weird. So here's this person's ideas. No ICE officers should stop anybody based on appearance alone, regardless of your ethnicity, the color of your skin, the way you dress or talk, or the language you're speaking. It's the law.
No, it's not.
If an immigration officer asks for proof that you are a legal resident of the United States and wants to see some identification, you have the right to refuse to give them your ID. You can also refuse to answer any of their questions unless they have a warrant, or you have no obligation to interact with them at all. You can ask, "Am I arrested?" If the answer is no, you do not need to know, or you do not need to know, give them any information. I'm assuming now, give them any information regarding your legal status in the U.S. Showing them IDs is totally optional. If you are being interrogated, do not give false information. Do not give them false documentation. You can be charged with identity theft if you show them forged documents or someone else's documents, even if you have legal status. Remember that everything you say or do can be used against you. Dun dun dun. 4. If immigration officials begin to knock on your door, you have the right not to open the door. They only have the right to enter your home if you have a warrant, or if they have a warrant from a judge.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I would assume that's the case even if you are a legal citizen, because it's still property.
Yep.
If you are arrested in an immigration detention center and you don't want to return to your home country, you have the right to request a meeting with an immigration officer. Do not sign anything you do not understand. You might be signing a voluntary deportation order. Some cases can be solved with the help of an immigration attorney. The lawyer can blah, blah, blah. You should also call your family member or something. Nah, I don't know. But, yeah. So, yeah, no, it sounds like incompetence by them.
You just did?
What did I just do?
No, okay. She just advised illegal immigrants not to comply with police officers. No, think about that. That means that they can ask you, and most people comply.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So if she's telling these people, don't give them fake documents, tell them no, what do you think the standard response is? What do you think gets the immigrants in trouble?
I don't know. Telling them no. But that's like saying, well, that guy got shot because he didn't listen to the police commands. But the police commands were stupid and no one should have to follow those.
What?
You know, like how you hear about all those kids getting shot or whatever because they didn't turn around when the police told them to and shit like that. Like,
I do not hear these things.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's late.
I understand. I'm just, yeah.
But yeah, like, everyone says bullshit like that. Like, you should always do what the police say, but you don't have to legally.
Yeah, I know.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, your interaction is probably going to be longer if you sit there and try to defy the police. But at the same time, you don't really want the police to try to break your rights either, so.
No. Okay. So you don't want police to force you to hand over papers.
Mm-hmm.
Police can ask you for papers.
Yes, they can.
Okay. In the example that you provided, if ICE officers are desperately trying to get all immigrants they find random kicked out of the country, then wasn't there somebody in that story who should have been kicked out of the country?
That's what it sounds like.
No, yeah, so that was the brother-in-law, and he was questioned.
Yeah, but he wasn't supposed to get kicked out of the country. He just didn't have a permanent status. He had a green card, so.
No. She said her brother-in-law wasn't here legally.
No, she said he wasn't a permanent resident.
Yeah, which is another phrase for...
No, you can have a green card and not be a permanent resident.
Okay, why would she be worried that I'd kick him out if he was... Okay, the problem is that I don't know whether she was referring to him as an illegal, okay? Because a lot of times they mix the words where they say, like, non-documented immigrant, and that's one of the ways they say it, is that he doesn't have any permanent status.
I'll tell you, from reading the article, I got the impression he was on a green card. So, but I mean, I got the impression he was on a green card. I didn't even think of it that way, like the whole time I was reading it. So.
The point of the matter is that it seems like these people try to confirm who they're looking for when they can. Okay, the examples that you provided are generally detestable as long as there's not other evidence beyond the fact that they speak Spanish.
They straight up went up to this woman and started bugging her, you know, for no reason at all.
Oh my!
In the end, okay, and they literally had to go. She went back with them to her place, like they came into her house and shit.
It literally gave you the reason.
Yes.
There is no reason. It did tell you the reason.
Yeah, but it wasn't even the right person in the end, you know?
That still doesn't mean that there wasn't a reason.
I guess you're right there, but still.
Guess I'm right. It tells you the reason. You can't say there was no reason. It's common sense. If I say I'm punching you in the face because you're stupid, you just hit me for no reason. Like, I gave you the reason. I'm assaulting you because I think that you are incompetent.
Okay. If situations like this happen, do you think they should be liable to a lawsuit?
No, because there will be mistakes.
Yeah, but every time you make a mistake, shouldn't you have to answer for that mistake?
No.
Man, it's like if I screwed up something at work, it was a mistake, but I'm still going to get in trouble for it. They should get in trouble for their mistakes. Every little mistake they make, they should get in trouble for. I would say the same thing about anybody I work with.
Failed to dot an I at work.
Well, in certain situations, that can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, so did this thing cost anyone any money?
No.
So then...
Cost someone her rights.
No, it didn't cost her her rights.
She was on her way to something. She was stopped by the police, or the ICE agents. For no reason to her. None. They didn't even tell her who they were looking for.
It sounded like she agreed to participate.
She did agree to participate. You are right.
That against her rights. It sounds like her right was to participate.
That's where we get into the gray area. But what if they took it further? What if they did force her to participate?
What? Say again?
What if they did force her to participate?
Then that would be some sort of kidnapping.
Yeah, you might be right there. That would be kidnapping.
I mean, if law officers took a woman from a parking lot without arresting her, after a bunch of questions, made them take her to their home.
Let's say it was under a detainment. Let's say she was being detained in this situation because she wasn't complying with the officers.
Okay, so they would have to suspect her of a crime first. They were looking for a man, apparently.
Yeah, but can they detain family members for a crime?
If they have reason to suspect they're
unwilling.
Or
do they need a court order for that? They might need a court order for that.
If they have reasonable suspicion that the individual is not telling them the truth.
Huh.
If their story is inconsistent, then yeah, they could probably detain them for obstruction of justice.
Yeah, maybe.
In theory.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened, so it doesn't really matter.
No, it didn't. You're right. That was just the first story I found.
Let's just use our logic senses here. If ICE is doing such a terrible job, why aren't we hearing more cases in which ICE beat the shit out of some people?
No. What we're hearing about is these kids. That's the big thing right now. Everyone's morally outraged about the kids.
So tell me what you think happens to these kids.
What, they get put into, little dormitories and shit, or given schooling, daily activities, things like that.
For how long?
I think the most it can be is 20 days or something.
And why is this happening?
Because the adults that they were with are being accused of a crime?
No. Most of the time it's happening because the adults they're with have been coached to say that they are seeking political asylum.
Yeah.
If they weren't seeking political asylum, they'd be sent away from the country.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, yeah.
If they were, for example, if they turned themselves in at these border stations, right, they wouldn't be separated from their family because they wouldn't have committed a crime. If they went to the border station and said, hey, I'm seeking political asylum, they'd stay with their family.
But they haven't committed a crime yet. They went to a border station seeking asylum. Well, if they went to a border station, they would not be committing a crime. This isn't a border station situation.
Say it again, please.
When you're seeking political asylum, what you are supposed to do is go to a border station every time.
I'm sorry. I heard when you're seeking political asylum and then nothing.
Okay. When you are seeking political asylum, you are supposed to go to a border station.
Yes.
That is where you are supposed to go. These people are not going to a border station.
That is correct.
That's what law they are breaking. They are going to the wrong spot.
No, they're being caught sneaking into the country. That's the rule of law they're breaking.
But they're going in through the wrong spot. Just because they're probably lying about this seeking asylum thing, which I'm not saying all of them are, but I will admit there's probably a few that are lying about that.
About 80% get kicked back.
Yeah, I understand. And our political asylum rules are a whole different situation and really stupid too. Like, if you've been convicted of a crime, you cannot seek a political asylum. Like, when half the people that are seeking political asylum to run away from the mob that they used to work for. You know? Like, of course they're going to be convicted of a crime. Why do we have to be a dick about it? Just because they sold drugs when they were younger and they want to get out of it, and now they got a hit on them because they talked to the cops. What if they murdered people?
Yeah.
Same thing. Like, let's say they were the hitman for their mob group and shit like that. I'm just saying, we shouldn't automatically disclude someone just because they've been convicted of a crime.
They were all innocent and stuff, right?
Well, I'm not saying that's always the case, and everything should be on a case-by-case basis. But what we have right now...
Hold on, let's talk about the case where that is the case. All right, so we got this hitman, right?
Okay, yeah.
And he's an innocent victim, right?
No. He's a hitman. Been killing people for years, okay? And then one day he's like, he gets caught, okay? He gets caught, and the government's like, okay, look, we don't want to throw you in jail. But we want to throw the rest of them in jail. And you're like, all right, well, I'll tell you who everybody else was.
Right.
And then, like, all of a sudden, the government's like, nope, we got you. We just wanted to see if you'd squeal. Now we're going to send a bunch of hitmen after you, and that guy's running. Should he get asylum in this country? I would say it shouldn't be an automatic no. You know what I mean? Well, first off, the shit happens, okay? A lot of these people don't have any other option other than joining their local gang.
I'm not disputing that it happens or it doesn't happen. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying, for the sake of argument, this is real. This happens. Yes. So, this dude was a professional hitman, learned a lot of secrets, decided to flip. Turns out he flipped to a policia that was actually in the employ of the other. But he somehow escaped custody.
I'm assuming to make a really good movie if it happened.
Likely killing officers, and then... So your justification for letting him in the country is...
Well, let's just say he flipped because he had a son or something, and he didn't want his son to grow up in the same life he did.
So he fucked some bitch and got her pregnant. Go on.
I'm just saying, it's not an automatic no. We shouldn't have automatic no's. And
I'm waiting.
Okay, the hitman thing might be taking it too far, okay? Maybe that motherfucker should stay in jail. But let's talk about the local street gang kid that was selling drugs or whatever, and then he gets some chick pregnant, and then they have a kid, and now they're like, man, we can't let our kid grow up in this, we gotta run away from all this, and they take off. That person should totally be a candidate for asylum. No. But they were arrested when they were, 18 or whatever and spent a year in jail, and now it's an automatic no because they've committed a crime.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, that's stupid. No. Political asylum should be for the people who have had a sketchy background. I mean, that's half the people that are going to be seeking it.
It shouldn't be. No. Do you know why?
What?
Because we would prefer to have people who are able to remain basically decent human beings. And although I'm sure some shithole countries do convict innocent people occasionally, and that is unfortunate when they do try to seek asylum.
Yeah, but we're not just sitting here trying to save the best of the best. We want to save the people that are just wanting to change their lives, that are looking for something better. And the people that are poor are going to have criminal records.
We should always be trying to save the best of the best. Do you know why?
To make our country better?
No, so that they don't take from our country. They give to our country.
Man, I gotta disagree with you. Like, political asylum seekers should be... They're refugees just by name, man. These are people that are going to take from our country for a little bit.
Okay.
And then we would morph them into contributors to the country as time goes on.
Morph them. I see. So you take somebody who needs something and you make them into someone who gives something.
Yes.
Okay. How do you do that?
through jobs. I mean, we immediately throw them into a job, or as soon as we can. You know, give them a couple weeks to settle in, and then be like, hey, here's the deal. We got this company that's willing to take employees that are refugees. They don't pay the best in the world, but it's a good way to start out. You're going to have to go ahead and take this job or find another job in the next 2 weeks, and if you can't, then you'll have to take this job.
You have an allowance when you were a kid?
Yeah.
How well did you do your job?
I did all right. It wasn't bad. I mean,
did you contribute to your country, to your family?
Yeah, so.
Did you contribute?
But yeah, I did chores.
Paid you, right? And you did chores.
I mean, my parents didn't usually pay me. I just did the chores.
It was slave labor. When you got work, right? Did you give to your family?
Yeah, I gave. No, never. Never. Yeah, no. I mean, other than like paying for my insurance and stuff, but again, this was my stuff. I never paid for my parents' insurance or anything. Never gave my parents any money.
So you just paid for your own stuff?
I paid for my own stuff, yes. But I didn't pay for like deodorant or anything like that. My parents still paid for all that.
Oh, and your parents paid you even more money?
Well, no. What?
They took care of you.
They took care of me. Yes, they did take care of me. They didn't Tyler me.
How much money? They get you giving them now?
Oh, I don't give them anything.
You don't give them anything? Okay. So if we are to assume the parentage role for these wayward orphan refugee type dudes, and if the standard in America is that our own children don't pay back our parents, right? Why would we expect immigrants to pay anything to the country that they didn't grow up in?
We don't expect them to pay. We expect them just to work. We want to give them a chance at becoming productive members of society.
That is what a productive member of society is. Somebody who pays to the country.
But someone who works, too. I mean, there should be a trial period for any asylum or refugee seekers. Like, give them a month of pure comfort, and then after that, expect them to make their way work and give them a couple of months longer. And then if they don't meet those standards in a couple of months, then we can talk about deportation.
Barack Obama tried that. And people who claimed asylum were basically given like 4-year waiting periods.
Yeah.
Loads, and 33% or so never showed up.
Yeah, I guess that would happen.
Yeah.
That would definitely happen.
Well, hold on. These are people who just need another chance, and they just want to contribute to the country, and give them an opportunity and jobs and blah 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 blah.
I like your Obama impression there.
Yeah, 33% of them didn't show up. So how honorable is that? Like, they had 4 years, or some cases 3, 7, whatever. But they had more than 365 days. So, and they didn't show up to their court. So, I don't think that it's fair to assume that every person who just claims to be a refugee is worthy of being given the opportunity. I think there are people who are worthy, and our job is to find out which ones are worthy, and we start by choosing those who are not. So I will give status to a person who has managed to not go to jail, who has managed to not get convicted of a crime that we would consider a crime. So I'll add that extra caveat. So if the crime is like what do they call that? Buggery, which is basically gay sex. That's not a crime in the United States. Then we don't give a fuck. Like, we'll be like, all right.
Yeah. No, I get that.
But if it's murder, if it's all the stuff we consider to be crimes or heinous crimes,
but what about like drug peddlers and shit? Like, people who sold drugs as they were kids, and they're searching for a better life now.
Do you want a drug dealer in your house?
I wouldn't mind having a drug dealer, a former drug dealer in my country.
No, I said in your house.
They wouldn't be in my house.
No, they would be in your house.
They'd be in my country, not in my
Yeah.
house. No one's being forced to take in refugees into their homes.
House. Just because you don't take care of your house doesn't mean I don't want to take care of my house. This is my house.
Oh, I get what you're saying there.
Yeah, you might not care that, that there's trash on the floor or something like that. Not to say that immigrants are trash, but I'm just saying as an example.
Totally what you said, though.
Okay, fine. Let's just say immigrants are trash.
Okay.
There also is black trash. So there's Mexican trash and there's black trash.
Yeah.
The difference is the black trash is American. It's already here. Been here. I'm not taking new trash. I'm keeping my trash. And when it comes down to it, if you let in too many people that are poor into these areas,
they're just going to continue being poor, is what you think?
No, they war with our people. So if you look at the crime in the areas where the immigrants go, low income areas, they're already by black people, by other Mexicans, by in some cases poor Chinese folks, in very rare cases. But anyways, they fight with them. They kill them. MS-13 kills black people for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And black Americans, that's my problem. So if that means if all I have to do is say, hey, I don't support letting in people who committed crimes, I'm down with that. I have no problem. Of course. If we ultimately want to let in bankers and stuff and people who already speak English, I'm also down with that. The idea is that we're not stopping to let in people. We're just saying that the people who we let in should be functioning members of society first. Not their sob stories come second, and their ability to function comes first. And I'm very sorry that it has to be that way. But because we were so kind for so many years, we are having some problems. And if you want to come in the country, you're just going to have to qualify with these standards. You're welcome.
No, I get where you're coming from. I do.
And unfortunately, I wish it wasn't that way, but the world is a hard place. And if they want to come here, they need to stop committing crimes in their country. It's a very hard thing, I understand. But yeah, it's kind of a basic standard that we have here. So we would just really appreciate it if you want to be considered for asylum, political asylum, which again, it's its own restrictions. You first must not commit crimes in your country. Sorry, oops.
All right. We gotta call it quits here. It's like 4.
But anyways, it was a good conversation. It was very fun.
Yeah, no. Doing this again next week?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
All right, there we go. Hold on, let me stop this. Bye, non-viewers.